June obeys the order and leaves the ward. She goes to the relevant doctor to ask what the little girl needs for her diet. And Harry in the ward, looking at the little girl's innocent smile, suddenly remembering before drilling into the ruins to save her, saw the smashed cake and candles. Now he remembered. He wondered if the night of the disaster was her birthday. If so, it's a pity that her parents should have accompanied her to spend a happy birthday night. But the disaster happened so suddenly that it turned a happy day into a tragedy. Thinking of this, Harry thinks it was necessary to make up for her regret. But now that she was in poor health, she may not be able to eat cake, so he decides to hold her birthday again when she returns to health and leaves the hospital. It's a celebration of her rebirth. After a while, June called. "Sir, the doctor said that the food was mainly light and it's better to eat liquid food, which was easy to digest, but she can eat more fruits." "Okay, I see. Just a moment." Harry then turned to look at Juniper and asked, "Do you like fruit?" "I do." "What fruit do you like?"
Well, I like strawberries, mangoes, and coconuts.
Harry picked up his mobile phone and said, "Did you hear that? Buy more of everything."
Yes, sir.
June answered. Florida was located in the south, and the climate was hot all year round, so there was no lack of fruit all year round. After June went out, she quickly brought back the food and big bag of fruit. Looking at the packaging of the fruit, or bought from the mall, the day after the selection of the freshest packaging into the preservative film basket. Harry also knows that June was so enthusiastic. He and June saved the child together. And for Harry, now he just feels that the child's experience was very pitiful. For June, it was as if she had seen her own shadow. The difference was that Juniper had lost her memory and forgotten the pain, while June had always remembered it. June wanted to give the child happiness while also healing her own past through the girl. In dealing with Juniper's affairs, June was very thoughtful, and several times she takes the initiative to discuss with Harry. Harry was still willing to see the situation. Although the bodyguard around him was loyal, he doesn't like to talk. After a long time, Harry was worried that she will get sick. Because Juniper has woken up, for the convenience of care, Harry arranged for her to change the ward and live next to Harvey. Harry can take care of both of them. After changing the ward, Randy wanted to visit Juniper. Before entering the door, Harry grabbed him and said, "Just say you're my friend. Don't mention the affairs of Washington. Do you know?" Randy said, "You know, I'm not a fool. It's best for this child to lose her memory. If you can't remember the past, I won't mention it again." Harry nodded. "Well, it's rare for you to be smart." Then he waved his hand to indicate that he and Millie can go in. This kind of advice was not to have any opinions about them, but they're usually careless and they can't do anything without thinking. If they don't follow the advice, they must be wrong. After arranging the procedure of transferring to the ward, Harry and June watched Juniper eat some more and coax her to sleep after eating. Although Juniper woke up, she was still very weak. It's very good to be able to eat and chat with Harry for a while before she falls asleep. After the child fell asleep, Harry walked out of the ward with a tired face. "What happened to Harvey?" Seeing Randy coming out of the next room, Harry asked. "He hasn't woken up yet. Carol said that she could take care of him herself. Let's go back and have a rest." Randy shook his head. Harry looked at him and nodded. "Let's go back together. Let's have a good rest and then come back." Then he drove back to the hotel with a few people. Back to the villa area next to the hotel, the villa Harry borrowed, kept it for him all this time. Lying on the bed in the bedroom for less than a moment, Harry fell asleep. When he woke up, it was dark. June always knows what state of Harry is, even if Harry was not in the same room with her. As soon as Harry sat up, June had already pushed the door in. "Sir, you're awake." Harry stretched and asked, "What time is it now? How was your rest?" June replied, "It's already 8 o'clock in the evening. I had a good rest. Don't worry, sir." Harry looked at the window and said, "I've been sleeping for such a long time. Let's go to the hospital." "Sir, why don't you have something to eat first?" June asked. Harry shook his head and said, No, take some along the way. Let's eat together in the hospital." "Yes, sir." June answered and went to prepare the car. Harry usually uses the car. Out of the preference and habit, he usually asks June to prepare the Supercross country car. As for the Wayland supercar, because the space was narrow, even if it was equipped with an artificial intelligence system, it runs fast. But Harry doesn't like it very much. At that time, he bought this car because he needed a car that could run fast enough to test the AIX. After arriving at the hospital, Randy and Millie were not there. They should still be resting. However, the nursing staff, who had been said to be arranged, had already arrived. Harry went to Harvey's ward first. A total of 8 nurses were all used to take care of Harvey, which was a bit exaggerated and wasteful. Harry arranged for these people to take care of Juniper next door. Carol doesn't have any opinion about this. According to her idea, she doesn't need any nursing. She can take care of Harvey by herself, considering the reality. She really can't care 24 hours a day, so she can only reluctantly accept it. Harvey didn't wake up in his deep sleep. The doctor said that the effect of anesthesia had passed long ago. The reason why Harvey was still sleeping was that he had been injured too much, lost too much blood, and was too weak. Take more rest. When he recovers, he'll wake up naturally. After seeing Harvey, Harry left 2 portions of food bought on the road and came to Juniper's room. The child woke up a long time ago. When she woke up, she didn't see Harry. She was still very flustered. Fortunately, in the middle of the day, Carol took a look and comforted her, saying that Harry just went back to have a rest and would come back to see her soon, which calmed her down. When Harry came in, Juniper said pitifully,
"Where have you been, big brother? I'm afraid to be left alone by myself here."
Juniper's innocent face and pitiful expression made Harry feel guilty. He quickly apologized. I'm sorry I went back to sleep for a long time. I'm really sorry.
Big brother was very tired. I shouldn't have said that just now. I'm not sensible.
Juniper looked at Harry and said, Harry thinks that the child is really thoughtful. She doesn't look like a 10-year-old at all. On the contrary, she was just like a little adult. Don't say this. You're hungry. I'll bring you something delicious. Harry raised his lunchbox. It wasn't that delicious. In fact, it was some nutritious porridge. The taste was not so good. It's just that Juniper can't eat any other foods now, so she has to drink more nutritious porridge, eat more fruits, and take care of her body. Juniper secretly shakes her head helplessly. Big brother always regards her as a child. She's not like a child, but she still obeyed Harry's orders and ate all the nutritious porridge. After eating, when June put away the lunchbox, Juniper was silent for a moment. Then she said,
Big brother, you...
What's the matter? Juniper bit her lip and made up her mind to ask.
I remember what happened before. Can I tell you about it?
Looking at her expectant eyes, Harry was stunned. Originally, he thought it was a good thing that Juniper had lost her memory, but Harry forgot how to answer the question when the child asked. Harry looks at June, a little at a loss, and sees that June was also unexpected. Harry knows that she has no idea. Juniper was very sensible. Seeing that Harry was embarrassed, she said,
Big brother, is there anything hard to say?
Harry said with a smile, Yes, in fact, I don't know much about your life experience. The reason why I don't tell you clearly is that I have difficulties. I hope you don't blame me. Juniper shook her head and said,
I don't blame you.
Harry continued, In this matter, what I hope was that you can let it go and think of the best by yourself. If you can't think of it, you can grow up happily, okay? Juniper looked up and thought for a long time, then nodded to Harry with a smile and said,
Sounds good to me.
Harry immediately also laughed, stretched out his hand to touch her head, and said, You really are a sensible child. At this moment, Harry felt that it was best for June and himself to support the child. As for whether she had any relatives or friends, after George finds them, they can contact them without telling Juniper. If her relatives don't want to support her, then they're more than happy. After chatting with Juniper about some interesting topics, Harry's mobile phone rings. The caller ID was George. Harry pondered for a while, looked at Juniper, then said, Big brother will go outside to answer the phone. You chat with your sister. Good. Juniper replied crisply. Harry walks out of the ward with the mobile phone. Considering that George was calling at this time, he may be looking for Juniper's relatives. What progress has he made? Looking back, it was not safe to stand at the door of the ward. Worried that his conversation would be heard in the room, he walked away and came to the end of the corridor. George, do you have anything to report? Sir, you have given me orders to investigate Juniper's life experience, and the results have been obtained. Oh, so soon. Tell me about it. Harry didn't expect that he was right. It's only half a day. George had already made a clear investigation. I have to admire the strength of these people. Juniper was 10 years old. The night of the disaster happened to her 10th birthday. Her father's name was Mathers and her mother's was Lolly. They all died that day. Harry basically knows what George said, but the next thing Harry doesn't know. According to the investigation, Juniper's family background was not complicated. All of her relatives are in Quick River Town, but they are... George suddenly can't go on. Harry suddenly asked, What's the matter? all gone on the night of the disaster. For George, he was used to seeing life and death, but a child who was just 10 years old lost all her relatives overnight, which was a cruel thing. After hearing the report, Harry hung up heavily. No wonder George's investigation was so fast. Compared with living people, dead people can be found out more easily. According to the severity of the disaster in Washington, some of them lost their lives on the night of the disaster, and some of them have not been found so far. But in fact, we all know that in such a disaster, disappearance can be linked with death. It was a small number of people who can rescue Juniper from the ruins like Harry. As time goes on, those who are missing lose hope of living and are finally included in the list of the dead. Walking through the corridor towards the ward, Harry slowly adjusted his expression. From dignified to cheerful again, but entering the ward, Juniper was a child after all. She doesn't see Harry's difference. But June was with Harry all day, and she could feel the slight change of Harry's look. "Sir?" June asked with her eyes. Harry hinted with his eyes. Now was not the time to speak. Wait for a while. When he lulls Juniper to sleep again, Harry takes June to Harvey's ward. These two wards are the best VIP special wards in the hospital, only for the most special people. It's a ward. In fact, the decoration was so luxurious that it doesn't look like a ward at all. It's no different from those luxury houses outside. Harvey lives in a room with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Harry greets Carol and pulls June to sit in the sofa in the living room. He said to June, "We can decide what you should do about the adoption of Juniper." "Sir, do you mean—" June was not a fool. She has already guessed something from Harry's look. June had already guessed something was wrong, and she was very sad. Now it seems that Juniper's expression was exactly the same as June's before. They also lost their parents and had no relatives to adopt them. This was their misfortune. Fortunately, both of them met the Parker family. Juniper was a little luckier than June. What she met was the most generous Harry. As for June, she had to be trained most severely since she was a child, and she suffered a lot. Of course, it's hard work now. With Harry, June was happy every day, but she never expressed it. "Sir, this child is so pitiful. Are you willing to raise her?" June asked. Harry nodded. "Since we have rescued her, we can't leave her. Now, if we don't care about her, how can she live alone at a young age?" With Harry's permission, June said happily, "I'm going to talk to her now." Harry said with a smile, "Okay, you have to consider the child's own wishes. If she doesn't want to live with us, you can only send her to an orphanage." Looking at June running back to the ward, Harry's smile slowly released. He doesn't necessarily want Juniper to stay by her side, but it's rare to see June so attentive and comply with her wishes. If Juniper can bring happiness to June, that's what Harry wants. A few days later, Juniper was still in the hospital for treatment, but the doctor said that she recovered quickly and could be discharged soon. And Harvey, in this period of time, has awakened and opened his eyes after the first sentence was to ask people to save it. After listening to Harry in his ward, Harvey thought he was in Quick River Town, Washington. Harvey's girlfriend Carol explains to him with a smile and a cry. Harvey remembers the memory before his coma and knows that the little girl who went to save Harry and Randy was now living in the next ward and recovering well. "Harry, you really decided to adopt this child? By the way, what's the child's name, Juniper?" Harvey asked unexpectedly. Harry said, "Yes, I think the child is helpless. If we don't adopt, she can only go to the orphanage. It's hard for her." Randy praised. "Still, Harry, you're kind-hearted. I didn't have this idea." Harry felt his nose and said, "Actually, it's not my idea. It's June's idea. In the future, Juniper will mainly be handed over to June. I'll take a look from time to time." Harvey was even more surprised and said, "Wow, was June going to accept an apprentice?" With June's ability and Harry having several brothers and friends, it's quite amazing. And every time June is in a conflict, no one could stop her. June was a terrifying woman. Thinking that she could raise a woman as strong as she was is a scary thought. Now they want to take in a little girl who had just turned 10 years old. They immediately let Harvey think that June wants to take in an apprentice. In their opinion, June was a master. It was a waste not to pass on her strength to others. It's also a good idea to have an apprentice. But June, besides Harry, didn't have this idea at all. She was just pitying the child, but she didn't think about the apprenticeship. Now, after Harvey mentioned it, June had a little idea in her heart. She thought it was a good idea to teach her skills. But June looks at Harry and asks with her eyes. She can't make up her mind about this kind of thing. June's ability comes from the Parker family, and she was Harry's lifelong bodyguard. If she can teach others her own skills, Harry would never have to worry. Seeing that June was somewhat moved, Harry knew that she was a little bit satisfied with Harvey's statement. When she wanted to do so, she nodded at her and indicated that she could. June was immediately overjoyed, and her heart became overjoyed. The smile of peerless beauty can destroy the world. Its power was terrible. The whole room was dumbfounded. Usually, June shows herself with a serious face. Randy was still murmuring in private whether June had facial paralysis. It's a waste to say that she doesn't have such a good look. Now, June suddenly showed a smiling face, which not only shocked everyone but also directly indulged in it. Randy murmured, "I finally know what it means to look back and smile." Millie, his girlfriend, was not jealous when she heard these words. On the contrary, she nodded her approval. "You're right. If I'm not a woman, I'll have to jump on it now." The fierce words destroyed the atmosphere in the room and made everyone laugh. June also found out her faults and immediately returned to her normal appearance. All of a sudden, she let everyone down. She sighed that the scene just now was just like a flash in the pan. After taking a sneak look at Harry, June was relieved to see that he didn't mean to blame him. How can Harry blame her? Seeing June's happiness in her heart, it made him feel excited. For June's always silent character, Harry has long wanted her to change, but a person's character was fixed and difficult to change. Harry was afraid that if he forces her to order, June will be disgusted, so he has been holding it back in his heart. Now June takes the initiative to make a change just in line with Harry's mind. After the sudden appearance of this situation, the atmosphere in the ward became warm and everyone was a little excited. Randy quietly pushed Harry and said, "Harry, I'm really envious of your good fortune. There's a big one, but now there's a small one. The one next door is always amazing." Harry doubts. "What are you talking about?" He couldn't understand Randy's inexplicable words. Randy said with a strange smile, "Hey, come here with me, and don't pretend to be serious. We're all brothers. Don't hide it." Harry frowned and said, "I really don't understand. What do you want to say?" Randy said obscenely, "June, you haven't seen it yet? Don't tell me you're so serious. The little girl didn't see it when she was just pulled out of the mud. Now I find that she was just a beautiful girl. It'll be even better when she grows up. Maybe she'll look even more beautiful than June." Harry shook his head and said, "What do you mean by this? I really don't understand. Even if Juniper was beautiful, what's the matter?" Randy blinked and said, "No, Harry, I just found out that you are simple enough. A 10-year-old, do you understand?" Harry doesn't understand anything. This guy speaks so plainly that he can't understand what Randy means. Immediately taking back a few steps with Randy to maintain a certain distance, Randy nodded his head and said, "I know, you don't have to say it." His appearance was a little too obscene. Not to mention, Harry can't see it anymore. Even Millie can't help it. He goes up with his fist and bangs a few times. Randy was hammered immediately. Harry takes June out of the hospital. Today was the day for the acceptance of the manor on his private island. Anna, as a designer, had arrived. Harry also wants to go there to see the situation of his residence with his own eyes. This manor was built by Harry himself. In order to complete the project, he almost drained his property. Of course, this was a bit exaggerated. In fact, after purchasing several large projects, Harry didn't have much money. However, some of them had been squeezed out to complete the manor, just because it was close to Moon Island, so it was convenient to take care of the little one there. Another reason was that Harry likes Florida a little now. The climate there was really suitable for long-term living. So in this period of time, Harry slowly began to pour out his industry to this side. After meeting Anna at the Grand Florida Hotel, Harry drove the narwhal toward Allen Island. Before arriving on the island, he made a special circle around Moon Island. Compared with the manor construction project on Allen Island, this was the fastest. Several other projects, such as the development of Moon Island on the reclamation of surrounding islands and reefs, are still in progress. These two are long-term major projects which will not be completed in a short time. With the continuous operation dredger day and night, we can see a little bit about the reefs around Moon Island. The rudiments of several islands can be seen now, but they are still the foundation of the island. It will take some time before they are completely filled. However, Harry was not in a hurry. The so-called slow work leads to meticulous work, especially in the construction of reclamation projects. The foundation of the island must be consolidated. In the future, the buildings built above will be stable. Otherwise, the huge waves caused by a typhoon will bring down the whole island, and all the previous efforts will be wasted. Considering that there was no cash flow in hand, Harry was also thinking about opening up a new financial path. It's better to be the one with less investments, quick effect, and big profit. However, this was to be considered later. At present, what Harry wanted to do was go to his new home and see how it was being built. Taking a few people to Allen Island now that the island has been seen the general appearance of the previous design, when several small projects are finished, Harry can move here to live. Anna really had the ability. After her own design, the whole island was just like a paradise. There are birds singing and flowers everywhere, and there are not many hard marks of manual modifications. There is a lot of vegetation on the island, but many of them are wild growth, not much ornamental. It's rare to meet such a generous boss like Harry. With a big wave of his hand, he gives them as big a budget as they desire. So Anna really understood his unique design concept that was reflected here incisively and vividly. The current vegetation on the whole island was all rare species transplanted from other places such as osmanthus fragrans. This kind of sweet-scented osmanthus was not ordinary, but after careful cultivation, it always blooms all year round and its fragrance was striking, but it doesn't make people feel too strong. It smells refreshing. If you live here all year round, it can regulate the metabolism of the human body. It's a good aroma for people. Every sweet-scented osmanthus tree was worth millions, and there are thousands of sweet-scented osmanthus trees on the island. It could be said that it was too extravagant. Such a luxurious and low-key building was not obvious to those who are knowledgeable. That was to say, only those who stand at the top can understand the exaggeration of luxury here. Walking in the osmanthus forest, Harry smelled the fragrance in the air and suddenly felt that the whole person had become sublimated with a sense of ecstasy. Anna said, "Harry, there are not only osmanthus fragrance here, but also artificial aloes mist. But there was a start switch. As long as it was turned on, the whole island would be filled with the feeling of fairy dust." Harry said unexpectedly, "Really? Open it and let me see the mister firsthand." As the owner of the whole island, he was of course the first to see and appreciate the beautiful scenery. Harry couldn't wait. Anna nodded with a smile and reached for a pat. Then Harry was surprised to find that there was a lot of smoke coming out from somewhere, or underground, and the dense mist rose up. In the forest full of osmanthus, it was really like being in a fairyland. That was to say, Harry was a little younger and had enough determination. If those old people are excited, they will have to pull out. In addition to ordinary people, they are busy every day for life and have no time to have other ideas. Thinking of those who stand at the top of the world, in fact, want to become long-lived and even hate to live forever, forever enjoying the world's glory and wealth. Harry did not require these things, just hoping to make his home into a fairyland-like existence, and this requirement was realized in Anna's hands. They just set foot on the island, already gave Harry a big surprise, simply couldn't be too happy. Harry says that this island was now worthy of the name. Standing on the edge of the island, he can already understand what kind of place the whole island is, which ordinary people dare not think. From the pier on Allen Island through the osmanthus forest, Harry came to the front of the main building of the manor. The whole building adopts the ancient design style, but there are also many modern elements in it. From a distance, the view was very harmonious. It was completely integrated with the style of the whole island. It was not abrupt at all. Walking in it, Harry has a sense of harmony between man and nature, which was very mysterious. The main building was divided into 3 floors. The first floor was used in daily life, including living room, bar, dining room, entertainment room, servant room, and so on. The second floor was a bedroom for rest and study. The third floor was used for a viewing, pavilion, and fitness activities. Of course, Harry just took a look. There are many rooms on the facade of the main building, but they are rarely used in daily life, and Harry didn't take a close look. Here was Harry's own residence, and there was no need to build a large and exaggerated area, just enough that he could live happily. Therefore, the size of Harry's manor was much smaller than that of Sean's, but in terms of delicacy, it was Harry's success. In order to make full use of the area of Allen Island, Anna even built an airport on the edge of the island, which can provide large aircraft takeoff and landing. In this way, Harry's private plane doesn't have to be put in a public airport rental warehouse. It can be parked on its own island at ordinary times. It's also very convenient when it was needed. He could take the plane when he went out. Anna saw that Harry nodded as he inspected and knew that he was satisfied with the design here. But she still asked, "Mr. Parker, do you think there's anything wrong with it? I can ask the contractors to modify it." Now that the manor has yet to be completed, it wouldn't be a lot of trouble if it was modified. However, it will be very inconvenient for Harry to modify it when he moves in. So Anna thinks that it's just right for Harry to put forward his opinions, but she didn't expect that Harry would be very satisfied, and she didn't expect to see anything wrong after walking for a long time. Harry said happily, "There's no need. I think everything here was well done. You've taken the trouble to do things perfectly." Anna was also happy to say, "This is just what I should do. You could be satisfied." Finished saying, in the heart not from of a sigh of relief, the construction budget of the manor was quite a lot, but Anna was a little too cool before, and all kinds of luxurious layouts were done with the wave. As a result, the project had been completed and accepted, and there was little budget left. If Harry chooses some unsatisfied places to rectify, the cost will certainly not be enough. Anna can't guarantee that Harry will be angry with her for spending too much money, but if she goes over, Anna, a small designer, can't bear Harry's anger. Even her company, Green Bank International Design, can't. Although Green Bank was one of the largest companies in the world, it was also the leader of the architectural design companies. But in front of Harry, just like an ant standing at the foot of an elephant, as long as Harry blows gently, the Green Bank won't collapse. Fortunately, the final result was good. Harry did not need to rectify the manor. "Can I check in now?" Harry asked after a churn. Anna nodded. "Of course, the materials used for the construction of the whole manor are all natural, without any toxic substances, so there was no need to wait for the smell to disperse and move in like ordinary families." "That's good. I've been living in my friend's hotel. Now that my house is completed, I don't have to disturb others anymore," Harry said happily. During the stay in Randy's hotel, Randy was too enthusiastic. For fear of Harry's discomfort, Randy didn't open business at all in the seaside villa area where Harry lived. In the summer season of tourism in Florida, he occupied a whole villa area, causing economic losses for Randy, which amounted to millions of dollars every day. But despite Harry's misgivings, he made Harry live there for free. "The decoration and furniture in the manor are all of the same style as the whole island, and the daily necessities are all settled. Mr. Parker, you don't need to prepare anything. It's very convenient to live in, even now," Anna said again. "Well, I saw it inside just now. You were so careful," Harry praised. Everything in the manor was ready-made now. The beds in the bedrooms are just like the presidential suites in the top hotels. The washrooms and bathrooms are brand new and unopened. Even in the cold storage of the kitchen, there are all kinds of valuable food stored in it, waiting for Harry, the only owner, to enjoy it. Not to mention that there are all kinds of precious wine in the cellar. From this point, Harry could see that Anna has really used the budget to the extreme, and it was estimated that there was not much left. Harry was not distressed. Although he didn't have much cash in his hand now, the money was used to create this masterpiece. If he doesn't spend money, he can't enjoy a better life. Why should he keep it? At present, the profits of several industries are fairly good. Although the return of the funds was slower, they are all high-quality industries, and the money spent will be earned back slowly. After the acceptance, Harry was very happy. Originally, she was invited to have dinner as a thank you, but as soon as Harry put it forward, she was scared. She's a little designer, but she doesn't dare to have dinner with Harry. Although when she was exploring Moon Island, she took her team to have dinner with Harry several times. But it was with the nature of work. Now it's Harry's private invitation. Anna wanted to be with a good-looking and good-natured young and rich man like Harry. He's the perfect Prince Charming in a girl's dream. Eating with him is like going to heaven. How could Anna not think about it? In her heart, there are thousands of wishes. But considering that there are a lot of beauties around Harry, and each of them was the best in the world, Anna has to feel inferior and feel that she was not qualified to eat with Harry. It was a pity to find an excuse to refuse. Harry was not angry either. Anyway, it was just to show his gratitude. It didn't matter if she didn't accept it. Anna set out to return to Florida. She left to go back to the company. She chose not to accept a meal from Harry. This was fine. Harry just wanted to be kind and show thanks. Anna didn't expect meals from clients or colleagues as a rule. Harry wanted to express his gratitude in some other way. After June waved, Harry said, "Is there any cash in the safe on the ship?" June nodded and said, "Some, sir. I think you have $5 million. "Give it all to Miss Anna," Harry said softly. June replied, "Yes, sir." Then she turned and went back to the boat. Anna was beside herself. Surely that was too much to give her. "Mr. Parker, that is too much. I can't accept this gift." Harry waved his hand and said, I'll give it to you, then you can take it. It's not necessary. With that, June came over with the suitcase and handed it to Anna. Anna's brain stopped for a moment, and she could not process receiving that much money, but the heavy box almost pulled her over. Although as the leading designer of the world's top architectural design company, Anna's income was also acceptable. Compared with ordinary white-collar workers, she was a gold collar. An annual salary of $1 million was nothing to Anna, but Harry's present was $5 million, which means she had worked on one project for 5 years of salary. Struggling to hold the suitcase in her arms, Anna's lips trembled and she didn't know what to say. Harry was embarrassed and said with a smile, I don't like to use checks. Usually it's either cash or direct transfers. I don't think it's too heavy to express my gratitude by transfer, so I choose to use cash. Don't be surprised. Anna quickly shook her head. How could she meet someone that was so frivolous with money? But with $5 million in her arms, Anna's heart was full of conflicting feelings. Mr. Parker, I really shouldn't have asked for the money. You better take it back. Harry pretended to be serious. I give out gifts and I never accept them back. You should take it. Speaking of this, Anna had no choice but to accept it. Her gratitude for Harry was astronomical. She had been preparing to change to a better house, but she was never able to save enough. Now, with $5 million with Harry, she will have enough. Mr. Parker, you are a good man, Anna said gratefully. Harry quickly raised his hand. You are too kind. I'm not that good of a guy. With that, Anna burst out laughing. She used to think that Harry was humorous, but now it seems that he is very humorous. He was so sincere to a designer with low status and liked to joke with people. Mr. Parker, you are really $1 million. Anna chuckles and leaves it in the car arranged by Harry. Harry looked at the distant vehicle and said with a smile, $1 million? June stood behind him and said, Sir, if you don't count the profits of your fixed industry, there's still $2.136 billion with $58 million in cash. Harry touched his chin and said unexpectedly, well, why is there so much left? I thought it was all spent long ago. How can I feel that I can't use up the money? After the exclamation, Harry said with a smile, Since there is still so much cash, we were not in a hurry to make money. The house has been completed. We have to make everyone happy first. June felt that her boss was a little ridiculous and she rolled her eyes. But Harry's eyes suddenly saw it and immediately said, You rolled your eyes at me just now, didn't you? No. Obviously, I've seen it. You don't admit it. I didn't, June said calmly. Hey, you little servant girl, you're starting to despise your master now. It seems that I have to think about imposing the Parker family law, Harry said with a smile. June quietly lowered her head to prevent the panic in her eyes from being exposed in front of Harry. June was just a little girl less than 20 years old. She should be lively and active. Under the strict training of the Parker family, she repressed her nature. When she first came to Harry's side, June's face looked like frost all day long. As a result, she got the title of Ice Beauty. However, since she lived with Harry for a long time, June's character had changed a little bit. Especially after Juniper came, June took care of the child all day. Influenced by the little girl's childlike innocence, June's transformation was faster, unconsciously. Her sealed nature gradually revealed itself. For this reason, Harry was still very fond of her. No matter who they are, Harry would not like to bring people with him that did not smile. Her being able to be lively and talkative had already surprised Harry. He couldn't imagine what a happy scene it would be when June really recovered her original character. I've decided that we'll have a party on the island tonight. Call everyone up and have them celebrate this new manor. Harry's hands made a loud single clap. Sir, Harvey and Carol are still in the hospital, June explained. Harry affirmed, Of course. Why would we leave them out? The doctor said that their health has recovered very well. Now there was no need to continue to be hospitalized, even if they were well recovered at home. It's okay. Should I call them now? Harry shook his head and said, I'd better go and give them a face-to-face notice. By the way, I'll go through the discharge procedures for them. Then he asked June to take out the car and drive towards the hospital. In the hospital, Harvey had been impatient for a long time. Even his ward was the most luxurious special ward. It was still different from his family home. Not to mention Juniper, who was originally a lively and active child, was now confined to a hospital bed all day and had long been unable to get up and play. Had it not been for the sensible and unwilling to make trouble for Harry, Juniper would have to be discharged from the hospital. Harry came to the hospital just as Juniper was also brought into Harvey's ward by Carol to play. Everyone was together. Harry then informed everyone about the night on Allen Island. Of course, the happiest people were Randy and Millie. What they liked most was playing. They usually have nothing to do but have fun. Taking care of Harvey and Juniper during this period of time made them bored. Harry, you're so sweet. I've been suffocating in this ward for a long time. Randy looked up at the sky and laughed excitedly. Get up, you'll be drunk at night. Millie also followed. Harry said with a smile, There are plenty of rooms on my manor. When you're drunk, you could spend the night. What's the harm in that? It was fast and convenient to go through the hospitalization procedures for these two people. The president of the hospital made sure of it for fear that he would offend Harry in some way. He had to be attentive or he might lose his job, or worse. The rich always got what they wanted one way or another. The president of the hospital had been very focused since Harry brought the two patients in. Getting the call that he wanted to come in person to discharge the patients put the president on edge. He wanted to leave a good impression on Harry. After getting Harry's notice, he quickly took his assistants with him, sweating all over, and helped to finish all the procedures. Harry held Juniper's little hand in his hand. Randy helps push Harvey in his wheelchair, and the party cleans up and walks out of the hospital. As soon as he walked out of the hospital building, Harvey took a breath and sighed. Finally, I'm out. I feel the air outside is very fresh. Harvey looked back at the hospital behind him and said, It's better not to come here again. It's just suffering. Randy was shocked and said, Harvey, you were lucky to be out of there at all. Don't say anything so unlucky. Millie looked at the staff of the hospital who were waving to several people at the front door of the hospital and said, Do you think this guy was in such a hurry to send you out? Harry thought for a while and said with a smile, What you said is very likely. Several people laughed and got into the car. Then Randy asked, Are we going to the island now? Harry nodded and said, Yes, where else? Randy asked, Are we going to buy some furniture and stuff for the party? What's there to buy? Everything is already in the manor. There's nothing that we will lack. Harry shook his head. Other people need to find some DJs or other equipment to play with. Harry needs these, of course. There were a lot of stars and singers in his entertainment company, and there is a party equipment already purchased in the manor. They were all complete and brand new. The stars and idols who work for Harry were all versatile. There's no need to worry about boredom at the party. Who are you going to invite? I'm worried about the shortage of drinks, Randy said. After thinking about it, Harry thought that there were a lot of people ready to be called. After thinking about it, he said, There will be still quite a lot of people. Maybe we should prepare more drinks and food. After that, he told June to go shopping first. Anyway, it's near the city, so it's convenient to buy things. It was on the way to the island anyway. But Randy stopped Harry and said, Why buy anything? I have plenty of drinks and food in my hotel. I'll take them directly from there later. How can I let you do that? Everything in your hotel was bought with money. I'd better prepare it myself. Harry refused. Randy was not happy. Harry, there is no need to be so polite. It is a gift from me for your new home. Harvey also said, That is right. You have moved into a new house and we haven't sent anything to show for it. Harry said with a smile, It's hopeless to argue then. I'm not sure how to go about doing this. Randy said, Then do as I say. Well, I don't want to be hypocritical. I'll go back to the hotel first. Harry had to agree. The group returned to Randy's Florida hotel. Randy was really generous enough to tell his staff to empty almost all the wine and drink stored in the hotel. It was all loaded onto Harry's boat. Taking advantage of the time of transferring the drinks, Harvey motioned Carol to push him to a quiet place. He took out his cell phone and called his father. Sean Livingston had been paying attention to his son's treatment for some time. He thought he would have to sleep for a while. Who would have thought that Harvey would tell him that he has been discharged from the hospital now? The old man was immediately annoyed and scolded him on the phone. You are not invincible. Your two legs were injured like this. If you don't stay in the hospital, what are you going to do? Harvey said with a wry smile. Dad, I'm recovering very well now. The doctor also said that I don't need to stay in the hospital. I just need to go home and recover slowly. Besides, living in the hospital for such a long time has already suffocated me. If I stay in the hospital again, I'll have to suffer from the other diseases before my injury is healed. Sean Livingston was already concerned about his child. After listening to Harvey's words, his anger went down. You have to let me be at ease. Don't tell me you're going to go out like you used to before the injury. Look, the disaster relief is going slowly. and I need some help organizing things. Why don't I have someone pick you up and take you here?" Harvey quickly said, "No, I'm fine. If I stay in Florida, besides, there's Carol taking care of me here. You could be rest assured." Sean Livingston nodded and said, "Well, I'm quite relieved about Carol. You can get along well and try to get married as soon as possible, okay? I won't say any more. You're an adult and you could take care of yourself." Then he was ready to hang up, but Harvey said, "Dad, don't hang up. I have something else to say." "What's the matter?" Sean Livingston asked. "It's Harry. The manor he built has been completed. Today he's going to move there. Do you think it's all right if we express our appreciation with a move-in gift?" Sean Livingston immediately nodded after hearing this. "Well, it's a big event for Harry to move into a new house. We can't lose our courtesy. Besides, Harry in Washington has helped me a lot. We have to thank him in kind." At this time, Harvey said with a smile, "Dad, let me correct you. It's not us, it's you. Thank Harry well. Let me and Randy not send anything." Harry went to find Sean Livingston when Washington was hit by the disaster. Harvey didn't know about it before. But during the period of hospitalization, Harvey also learned that Harry had been a great help, as his father had said. If Harry had not taken out the jade cabbage as bait to lure a large group of people to actively participate in the rescue, Washington would still be in chaos. Listening to Harvey's words, Sean Livingston laughed. "You smelly boy, you call me to ask for gifts." "Not at all, Dad. What do you think Harry will like as a gift?" "I think Harry will be very happy if you give him your red rabbit horse as a gift." Sean was a bit annoyed. He was grateful to Harry for all the help he gave, but the horse was going too far. Sean Livingston will surely reward him with something that was without a doubt a great gift. The red rabbit horse was his flesh and blood. All day long he worried that he would not take good care of him. After hearing Harvey out, he began to think about giving it away to Harry after all. Harvey listened to the phone. His father's nervous breathing became distressed. Although this red rabbit horse was like the flesh of his father's heart, it was not essential. Sean didn't think it would be a good gift. Harvey thought again and again. Harry does not allow himself to receive gifts. He said he got the habit from his father. But it takes a lot of effort to give a gift. Pick the wrong gift and it would be awkward. Pick a gift that is too expensive and Harry won't accept it. Harvey finally remembered that when Harry was a guest at his home some time ago, he seemed very interested in the red rabbit horse. He began pleading with Sean to give up his prized horse. On the other end of the phone, Sean Livingston felt distressed for a long time and then said, "Okay, just as you said, give the red rabbit horse to Harry as a gift." Although this red rabbit horse was expensive, it was nothing in Sean Livingston's eyes, just a little bit of money. It's not the money he loves, it's the horse he really likes. However, Sean Livingston was certainly not a stingy person for his family to come to this stage. He regretted a little and agreed to Harvey's proposal. "Harvey, what were you doing? We're all on the boat. It's time for us to go to the island." Randy came over and cried. "Well, I was just letting the old man know that I'm out of the hospital so that he won't be worried," Harvey said. As for the matter of sending the red rabbit horse, he was not ready to say because he wanted to surprise Harry. If he were to tell Randy about it now, he will have to shout out when he turns around. Harry took Juniper out of the hotel and came to the wharf. At this time, Randy's staff had finished loading. With the huge displacement and storage capacity of the narwhal, all the drinks and food in the hotel can be loaded. It would be nice if 2 boxes could be loaded on another small yacht. Standing on the dock, Juniper looked at the narwhal docked on the shore and asked in surprise, "Harry, is this big ship yours?" "Yes, we'll take this boat to my new home," Harry said with a smile. Juniper stood under the boat, looking up at the unique large ocean-going yacht in the world and said excitedly, "This boat is really big and beautiful. Harry, you're really good. You have such a big boat." Compared with the other cargo ships at sea, the narwhal was not very big. But in this dock, the berths were all private yachts, and none of them can catch up with the size of the narwhal. The so-called standout was very appropriate here. The narwhal was like an elegant white swan. The problem was that compared to the narwhal was a losing idea. All the surrounding docks had impressive yachts, but they were completely outclassed by the narwhal. Juniper had never seen the sea in Washington before, let alone a yacht. As a 10-year-old child, it's hard to be calm now. Seeing Randy and Harvey coming, Harry took Juniper by the hand and said, Let's go. There's a lot of fun on board. Let's go up and have a good look. Okay. Juniper was so excited that she almost jumped up. Although she lost her memory, her character was still preserved. Although she seemed to be very sensible most of the time, she was a child after all. Now she can't help it. Without waiting for Harry to go first, she had already pulled Harry up. The narwhal's exterior design was not only shocking enough but also luxurious enough inside. However, Juniper, who rushed in, became timid. Her family used to be relatively rich, but in the villages and towns in the mountains, no matter how rich they were at most better off than others. She'd never seen such luxury on the narwhal, so she was afraid to settle down. Looking at her carefully, Harry patted her on the shoulder and said, "It's okay. This boat belongs to me. You can play any way you like, but don't run to the side of the boat. The speed of the boat will be very fast. If you fall into the sea, it'll be dangerous." Juniper hesitated and said,
"But everything here looks so valuable. I'm afraid it'll be damaged by me."
Harry suddenly laughed. "Your brother Harry has a lot of money. Even if it's broken, we won't let you pay for it." Then he looked up at June and said, "Well, you could play with her on the boat. I'll go and sail."
"I'll go, sir,"
June said. Harry waved his hand. "No, I haven't driven the narwhal for a long time. I'll have a good time today." Then he went to the cockpit. When Harry left, Juniper asked June in a low voice,
"June, Harry said he was rich. How rich?"
June said, "Hundreds of billions." Juniper's jaw fell to the ground in surprise. At her age, she already has a concept of wealth. It's very good for an ordinary family to have millions. Hundreds of billions were beyond her limit of comprehension. Looking at Juniper's surprised look, June didn't explain to her that Harry's wealth was now fixed assets and the cash available was only $2 billion. Of course, more than $2 billion was an astronomical number for Juniper. June didn't make a fool of herself. Harry's assets were several times more than they were at the beginning. The offshore oil field project alone has brought hundreds of billions of funds, plus the land appreciation potential of Moon Island. Hundreds of billions were not far off assessments. When everyone got on board, Harry greets Randy and starts the engine of the narwhal. The surging power drives the propeller under the ship to rotate from slow to fast, and the whole ship starts slowly, gradually leaving the berth of the wharf. Juniper, who took this luxury boat for the first time, became excited again at the moment when the boat started to move.
"Oh, the boat's moving!"
She was running standing on the viewing platform on the second deck. Juniper cheered at the sea with the railing. June stood beside her with a smile on her lips. Once she was naive, but after countless days and nights of hard training, now June was turned into a machine that obeys orders.
"Sister June, you could shout too. It's very enjoyable,"
Juniper said excitedly. June shook her head with a smile. Sitting in the cockpit, Harry looks at the scene outside and smiles, especially when the sea breeze brings up June's soft green silk scarf. Harry's heart suddenly skips for just a beat. Next to the rail on the side of the boat, two girls, one big and the other small, stood side by side with wide sun visors. Skirts swinging in the wind, hair was blowing from time to time. A wisp gently brushed the ear. There was a kind of unspeakable beauty and quiet. Harry smiles again and returns to his mind to concentrate on sailing. After setting the route, he took out his mobile phone and called the film director. "Sir," Manson had been filming on Moon Island with everyone during this period of time. In order to catch up with the shooting progress, the whole crew didn't ask for leave. They all lived on the island and never left. After such a long time, many people can't handle that kind of disconnect from the wider world. But considering that the director had been there the whole time, even the top stars, Celeste and Issa Ivy, were working diligently. Those whose status was not as good as theirs were embarrassed to ask for a rest. "Manson, it's been a hard time filming, hasn't it?" Harry asked. Listening to Manson's tired voice on the phone, Harry knows that the crew may not have had a very easy time. After all, Moon Island was no man's land. The whole island was uninhabited. After leaving the camp, there was no place to have a rest. After a long time, even the most dedicated were starting to get tired. Of course, in the face of Harry's inquiry, Manson will not directly say that he was really tired, just like those young people who have just entered the workplace. "It's okay, it's not hard at all. The scenery on the island is beautiful. It's very relaxing to stay here," Manson said with a smile. Harry said, "Okay, don't pretend. I know what's going on over there. When I'm tired, I should have a rest. There were so many people in the cast. Most of them were girls. Don't make people tired." Manson just said with a smile, it's really a little bit tiresome. Harry said, my manor on Allen Island have been built. I'm going to have a party tonight. You can bring all the members of the crew to go there. Let's relax and have another 2 days off tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Manson couldn't sit still after hearing this, so he jumped up immediately. Good, boss. I'll take all the people there. Then he hung up the phone in a hurry and yelled to the crew at work. The boss is going to have a party on Allen Island tonight. Let's all go. He'll have us take 2 days off tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. As a result, he thought there would be a warm cheer after shouting, but it was too quiet. Everyone looked at each other, a little confused. It's not April Fool's Day, is it? No, do you think Director Manson was joking with us? Otherwise, why didn't you get a word of it and all of a sudden it was a holiday? I think the director is telling a joke to boost morale. It's probably not true. After listening to Manson's voice, he said, What's true or false? I've just received a phone call from the boss. Can I cheat you in this way? You don't believe it, right? Well, everyone has a holiday and you two will be on duty here to guard the camp. The staff members were stunned. They were flustered when they saw that what Manson said was the truth and that he had not been lying at all. He ran over and hugged Manson's thigh and said, Director Manson, don't leave us alone. What's good to watch here in the camp? Apart from us and the gorilla, there's nothing else on the whole island that can breathe. We're afraid of being stolen. Manson pretended to be serious and said, You two don't believe me. It's all right to stay in the camp. They nodded and said, We believe now. After Manson teased the two people, he felt bored and waved his hand and said, Okay, the boss said, if you want to go, you can go. Oh, good. Oh. The two men burst into tears and laughed. The rest of the crew saw that it was true. Manson was not joking and immediately cheered. Long live the boss! Seeing this situation, Tammy, who was filming, stopped shooting altogether. She ran to Manson and asked, How can he just invite you people to go? How many of us are invited? Manson quickly accompanied with a smile. All of us, of course. He was very sure to say that. Well, that's about as much as I expected. Tammy threw a proud white eye and turned to the shed to drink a cold drink. Moon Island was good everywhere, but the temperature was a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, Harry's support was complete. There were large refrigerators and freezers in the camp, as well as cold drinks making machines. The facilities let the employees have a cold drink to relieve the summer heat when they were busy and had time for a rest. While Tammy was enjoying the cold drink, Celeste came with some other women. The crew set up a temporary large-scale shed beside the shooting site, which was also equipped with air conditioning, and the portable generator kept blowing air conditioning. The shed can hold more than 20 people, and the actors and actresses were separated. They can't stand the heat of filming on weekdays, so all these people come here to cool off. Seeing that Celeste came in, Tammy hummed in a low voice. As for Celeste, Tammy has not liked her since the beginning. It was clear that Harry has the best relationship with her. He has known her since high school and was still at the level of interest for Harry. In Tammy's heart, she had raised her standard of finding a boyfriend to the same level as Harry. But this type of Harry was rare in the whole world. So Tammy puts her criteria for finding a boyfriend directly on Harry. Some time ago, Harry was near her mouth. Before she could almost taste it, she watched him as he was snatched away. Celeste was the initiator. Therefore, how can Tammy not hate her? When Celeste came into the tent and saw Tammy, she said with a smile, You're really here. I was looking for you. Then she went over. Tammy now occupied the best position in the shed. Usually the best position in the shed was reserved for the biggest star. But because her heart was filled with hate, she took the spot to annoy Celeste. Shall I sit next to you? Celeste asked with a smile. Tammy was very reluctant, but she can't taunt Celeste in front of everyone. She's not a fool. She won't do things that were irrational and unreasonable. Celeste was also a woman who had a relationship with Harry. What can I do for you? Tell me, Tammy asked. Tammy's attitude was not irritated by Celeste. Besides, she was used to it. Since Celeste was brought into the cast with Harry on the first day, Tammy had no good face for her. At first, Celeste didn't know why, but she was not stupid. After observing for some time, she understood why. To put it bluntly, she knew Tammy was jealous. Celeste smiled, looked at her female star in the shed, and said, I have something to discuss with Tammy. Would you guys mind going out first? The other people looked at each other and then all went out. In this group, Celeste was the leader in a sense. She carried the conversation most often. Not to mention that she was the world's top star, and no one can match her in status. The most important thing was that Celeste was still the boss of these people. With this kind of relationship, Celeste had a lot to say here, and no one dared to not listen to her. Issa, you can go out and wait, Celeste said to her best friend. Issa Ivy opened her mouth and said in surprise, "Why can't I listen?" Celeste nodded with a smile. Issa Ivy went out too. "Well, all the people are gone. If you have anything to say, just say it." Tammy was cold. Celeste paused for a while as if she was a little embarrassed to say it. "Come on, what's the matter with you? It's so mysterious. If you don't tell me, I'll leave. There's no time here to spend with you." Tammy was impatient. In the whole drama group, only Tammy doesn't care about Celeste at all. Celeste grabs Tammy, who was about to leave, and said, "I know you like Harry." Tammy's anger came up. "What do you mean? Want to show off that he likes you over me?" Celeste shook her head. "No, you misunderstood me." "What do you mean?" "Since you like Harry, I can help you create opportunities for you to get close to him tonight." Celeste's words were amazing. Scared Tammy, she jumped up. You. She didn't know what to say. All the hate that was boiling in her ears, and it started to fade at these words. The relationship between Celeste and Harry was now open in the cast. As a result, Celeste actually said that she wants to help create opportunities. Was she crazy? "Are you sick?" Tammy carefully examines Celeste's face to see if there was anything wrong. Celeste smiles. "I'm not sick." "That's crazy." "I'm not crazy either." Tammy thinks that Celeste was crazy. She was jealous all day long. It's estimated that she will deteriorate after a long time. Unconsciously, she has begun to have unrealistic illusions. "That's why you're crazy. What I see now is an illusion, not reality," Tammy whispered. Celeste really laughed this time. "I'm not crazy, and now it's not an illusion. Be serious. I'm serious about it." "Why?" Tammy's heart was only in doubt. Tammy couldn't understand it. Celeste had to be sick or something. She said she wasn't anything but healthy, and that made Tammy's head hurt. In fact, Celeste was also a bit miserable. She didn't make this decision suddenly. During the time when Harry was away, she thought about it for a long time afterward. That is, some time ago, a female star she knew was abandoned by her boyfriend, who she had been with for 5 years. The girl's boyfriend was also a powerful man in his family. He was very romantic and treats her very well. But the man's family background was too big to accept a female star as the wife of their son. It was okay to keep her as a lover on weekdays. Don't think about marriage when you step into a rich family. In fact, it's nothing. The female star has been psychologically prepared for this situation for a long time. But in this world, there were fewer dedicated men than those who cherish animals. This man was no exception. After 5 years together, the man finally went to go find someone else. It happened that he met a new star at a party. She was young and energetic, full of purity and temptation. So Celeste's friend was mercilessly abandoned. Now she was crying all day and seemed to have been suffering from depression. Celeste's friend called her and told her about what happened and how her friend felt. While on the phone, Celeste kept thinking about her in those situations. After this, Celeste's mind began to constantly ponder. She was thinking about how similar she was to her friend and her relationship with Harry. To be Harry's wife was something that Celeste couldn't even think of. Harry was such a big, rich man, and she was just a famous movie star. What were the odds that this powerful family would accept her in his life? If she couldn't be his wife, then she would have to stay as his lover. But how long can this relationship last? 1 or 2 years? 3 or 5 years? Or 7 or 8 years longer? Celeste knew that she was beautiful and no man in the world wouldn't like her, but no matter how beautiful a woman is, she will grow old. When she was no longer beautiful, she wasn't sure that Harry would stay with her as always. So Celeste had a sense of crisis. She was very traditional in character. From the first time they met, Celeste decided that she was Harry's woman. But with the living example of her friend in front of her, Celeste couldn't help think about what to do if she ran into the same problem. After thinking about it, Celeste finally came up with a way. That is, she takes the initiative to lead the wolf into the house. She couldn't guarantee that Harry would get rid of her and fall in love with other women in the future, so she would find a woman who could be in her control in advance. Tammy was a suitable target. Harry was going to open his house tonight, which was a good chance given by God. So this was the dialogue between Celeste and Tammy. Celeste didn't feel that what she had done was wrong or bad. Now it's normal for powerful women to support each other. Are you serious? Tammy stammered, and now she still can't believe it. Of course, it's true. It's rare for me to give you a chance. Tammy looked at Celeste seriously for a long time, and then she gritted her teeth and stamped her feet. What should I do? Celeste said with a smile. Well, you'll do it this evening first. Then, finally, the island was now as beautiful as the fairyland on Earth. After Harry and his party arrived on the island with the narwhal, Manson arrived one after another with all the crew. This was the first time that Allen Island was displayed after the completion of the project. In front of these people, all of them were shocked by the luxurious construction on the island. Every plant and tree had great ingenuity. Even the pebbles laid on the ground were all jade. Harry had the vein of jade on the island. The mining happened during construction. The good jade materials were preserved as collections in the underground warehouse of the manor, while the poor ones were used as ornaments in various buildings after preliminary polishing. One of the most amazing was the jade square in front of the manor. The whole square was paved with carved jade, and the fountain in the center of the square was carved with a whole piece of natural jade with flowing water and fountains gushing out. Compared with a jade cabbage, the mountain fountain was more shocking. My God, was this manor all made of jade? The staff of the crew sighed. Looking at the whole island, not only was the smoke misty, but also the fragrance of osmanthus lingers. Even all the buildings were crystal clear under the setting sun. Even those who don't understand can see that there must be a lot of jade. How luxurious! Not to mention the ordinary employees, Randy, Harvey, and Millie, who were born in rich families, were all shocked by the scene. This was the manor you built? Randy asked in disbelief, bulging his eyes. Harry spread out his hands. Of course. Did you think you were dreaming? No, it's unexpected that you built this manor. It's not a place for people to live. It's a fairyland. Randy cried. Harvey was also shocked, repeatedly nodded. No matter where you look, it's a work of art. It's perfect. Millie was even more red-eyed. She grabbed Randy's arm and said, Let's build a manor like Harry's. It would be nice to live together in the future. Randy said with a bitter smile, That is a very good idea, but I can't afford it. It's not that he was modest on purpose. In terms of financial resources, the Banner family was really first class, and Randy's personal wealth was astronomical. But Harry's manor can't be built with money. This kind of design could only be made by experts with a vision. No amount of money could buy something as beautiful as this. First of all, there must be a first-class jade vein underneath it. Secondly, the jade vein must be rich in ore and produce more than any vein in history. Jade, the top jade, was now out of production. Except for the one Harry accidentally discovered, there was no second vein like it in the world. Moreover, this jade was transparent in color and moist in texture, which was incomparable with other jades. So it doesn't seem very pompous when it was used in the construction. On the contrary, it has the feeling of being in a fairyland palace. Looking at the arrival of all the people, Harry called Manson over and said, You can arrange for everyone. If you want to visit the island, you can have free activities. If you want to play in the manor, you can go to the back garden. Later, the party will be held here. Manson said excitedly, Good, boss. I didn't expect to see something like this today. Thank you for your hospitality. Harry just smiled. Manson giggled and scratched his head. It's mainly too shocking, and I'm not as steady as usual. Harry! Celeste came running. I was just curious that I didn't see you. Why did you come so late? Harry asked with a smile. Oh, the big boss was going to have a party. Of course we have to dress up, Celeste said delicately. These actresses in the cast usually attach great importance to public activities, and they have to dress up. Although the party held by Harry was private, it was a good opportunity for them to show themselves in front of the boss. Dressing up was unexpected, really, as it was a private party, and everyone kind of knew each other anyway. Besides, dressing up too much would make Harry less interested. If it wasn't for a close look, Harry almost didn't recognize Tammy. Tammy, you're very beautiful today, Harry praised. But to Harry's surprise, Tammy was a little different today. After listening to Harry's praise, she turned shyly and said in a low voice, "Yes, everyone is beautiful. Don't just talk about me." Harry was shocked immediately. Was it still Tammy? He hadn't seen her for more than a month. Could it be that she had been replaced? Not only was Tammy abnormal, but Celeste seems to have something wrong. When Harry talked to Tammy, his eyes turned back and forth with a mysterious smile. Harry was confused for a while. "Boss, your new home is wonderful. It's like a fairy palace." "Is this really a newly built manor? It's unbelievable. I thought I was hallucinating." Some of the other actresses looked around and sighed, their eyes glowing red, hoping that they could live here. Thinking of the people who can live here, everyone thought it must be Celeste. After all, her relationship with Harry has been made public. As Harry's woman, where can she go if she doesn't live here? So originally, to Celeste feeling very jealous, now everyone's heart was full of jealousy. Living in this kind of fairyland manor, I think it's not much worse than the feeling of living in heaven. It's good to play around here today, but I don't know if I can have another chance in the future. I don't think our boss is stingy. He will often entertain us in the future. It's not fun to come here once or twice. It's good to live here. I like to lose 10 years of my life. Hey, you want to stay here. It's very simple. When the boss is drunk, just push him away. Go ahead. What a bad idea. Can the boss look up to us? A group of actresses ran away laughing noisily. Waiting for the others to leave, Celeste went to Harry's front and naturally took his arm and said, "Why did you go out for such a long time and didn't come back to see me?" Since Harry last went to Washington to attend the birthday party of Harvey's father, he managed the disaster relief operation in Washington. After he came back, he had been taking care of Harvey and Juniper. During this period of time, he hadn't been able to go to the Moon Island to see the shooting progress of the crew, so Celeste was still a little aggrieved. Since becoming infatuated with Harry, the two had been like glue. They did not want to be separated for too long. After a month and a half of separation, Harry didn't even make any phone calls to her. This immediately let Celeste have a sense of crisis that made her feel that she was about to lose favor in front of Harry. There was not much sense of security in her arms because she saw that June, who had been following Harry for more than a month, seemed to have changed a lot. What's more, there was a little girl standing beside June. She was very beautiful and lovely. It looks like she was carved from the same mold as June. Juniper looked a little like June. If you bring them closer, they will look like twins. They were both equally beautiful. So Celeste misunderstood and said in surprise, "Is this child June's daughter?" Harry spat out his drink. "What do you think? How old is June? How could she have such a big daughter?" he said. Celeste said with a smile, "No, I misunderstood." Just now, for a moment, she really thought it was June's and Harry's child, though she thought it was impossible. Looking at the way that Harry can't laugh or cry, Celeste blames herself in her heart for being too neurotic. During this period of time without the company of Harry, Celeste had been suspicious all day. In fact, it's not only her, but also other people in the crew have all kinds of private guesses about their relationship. Of how good Harry was to Celeste before, which everyone could see, they were almost inseparable. Now all of a sudden, such a beautiful woman had been thrown on the desert island for more than a month. No matter what, no one had to wonder if Celeste was out of favor. Harry took June's handkerchief, wiped his mouth, and said, "Let me introduce this child to you. Her name is Juniper. I rescued her from Quick River Town in Washington." After hearing this, Celeste was stunned. "Over there in Washington, I heard that it was like a disaster. Many people were—" Harry raised his index finger and motioned to his mouth. "Keep it down. Don't let her hear it. The child has lost her memory. Her parents and relatives are gone." Celeste immediately showed sympathy. "What? This is too miserable." "Yes, I rescued her. Seeing that she was poor and had nowhere else to go, I decided to have her stay with me." Harry nodded. "You haven't contacted me during the time since you left. It seems that a lot of things have happened that I don't know. You must tell me later, okay?" Celeste asked coquettishly. Celeste thought something was wrong with June, but she couldn't say what's wrong. After thinking for a long time, she thought that the problem may be the time when Harry left. When going to Washington, Harry took June alone. She didn't want to feel like covering her head, so she wanted Harry to tell her. How can Harry have so many thoughts? There was nothing that can't be said during this period of time in Washington. Then he nodded and said, "Okay, I'll tell you when I have a rest in the evening." Then he winked at Celeste. It's amazing that Harry has been able to live more than a month with less desire. Now he's back. Who can resist her beauty? Looking at Harry's more obvious sign, Celeste was a little flustered to avoid Harry's eyes. Harry couldn't be with her tonight. Celeste thought about the plan she had made before. She felt guilty, so she didn't dare to look at Harry. Harry thought she was shy and didn't think much of it. Allen Island didn't seem big. In fact, hundreds of people on Harry's side spread out on the island. It seemed very quiet. In the whole crew, including the actors, the crew members, and the chefs loaned from Florida Hotel in the camp. All in all, it's just more than 300 people. It's really a little less on the 100 square kilometers of Allen Island. If thousands of people from Wolfguard also come, it would be lively. However, the task of the Wolfguard was very heavy now. George took people to Washington. There were still many people left to guard Moon Island. Several other industries also need to be watched by people. Even here on Allen Island, there must be hundreds of escorts to provide security for Harry 24 hours in the future. Therefore, Harry's party tonight didn't have the majority of the Wolfguard. Even if he did invite them, the food and drink couldn't be provided for so many people at the same time. The back garden of the manor was the main venue for the party. At this time, most people hadn't been out there. They were all in Harry's manor, and there were visitors all over the island. This kind of fairyland manor was a very rare experience for ordinary people to have such a chance to see it in their life. They all wandered around hoping to see enough at one time. When they went back to their lives, they would regret not doing more. Boss, these people were so unruly. They're all wandering around the island. I'll call them all back. Manson said angrily. In the production team, Harry left everything to Manson to manage, and he was equivalent to a leader of the team. Who would have thought that after such a long time, everyone in the crew had a good time on the island? Manson was on his pins and needles now. He thought that if he messed up the party, Harry wouldn't spare him. But Harry said, "It's okay. Let them have a good time. You're tired of filming this time. Tonight was to let everyone relax. Why are you so serious?" Harry's parties had always been no rules, and there were no distinctions between high and low status. It's good for everyone to eat and drink and play. Harry didn't care about formal things at all. Does a party have to have as many rules as a grand banquet? If this was true, not only everyone in the crew would not be used to it, but even Harry himself couldn't stand it. They were talking when the telephone rang. "What? It's already here. Okay, I'm on the island right now." Harvey's phone call was mysterious. Harry and other people didn't know what the situation was. Randy was a man who can't hold his breath. At first, he asked, "Harvey, what's your situation?" But Harvey blinked and said, "Don't ask. You'll know in a moment." "No, you make my heart itch. You don't know my curiosity. Tell me what's the situation. Do you want to play something I haven't seen at the party tonight?" As soon as Randy's curiosity comes up, he will scratch his heart and lungs. Harvey shook his head. "I can't say it now. I'll give you a surprise later." Then he said to Harry, "Harry, can the airport on the island be used now?" "It's working. I'm curious about what you're thinking about," Harry said. "You'll see in a minute." Harvey motioned Carol to go to the airport on the island. Harry couldn't help the curiosity in his heart. He felt that it was too much to bear, so he followed them to the airport. In the airport on the island, it was located at the edge of the whole island, but the terrain was still relatively high to prevent the sea from flooding the runway when the sea waves grew with the tide. Due to the open terrain and the parking of Harry's private aircraft in the hangar, many of the crew members were also here to visit. Seeing Harry coming from afar, these people were not panicked, but were excited to greet Harry. Harry had been in contact with his employees for a long time, and he had got to know each of them well to recognize their names and faces. His employees even knew him well enough to know that their boss was rare. Not often would they see a rich young man that would associate himself with his own staff. It was rare to be close to a man worth billions that they could sit down and have a chat with regardless of their status. At this time, the boss appeared. No one would feel anxious. They all happily went up to say hello to Harry and praised Harry's private plan. At this time, Harry's plane stopped outside the hangar. No matter who saw it, they will be attracted at the first sight. because the shape design of the whole plane was too sci-fi, just like the star shuttles in movies and games. The model was even larger than most planes. In front of Harry's plane, the general business private plane was the gap between a little sparrow and a hawk. Not long after Harry and his party arrived at the airport, a plane appeared on the horizon. After arriving over the island and making 2 or 3 rounds to find the landing position, the altitude of the plane slowly decreased. Finally, they landed down and stopped steadily in front of them. After the cabin door was opened, the people who came down surprised Harry. It was the housekeeper of Harvey's family, Lancaster. "Mr. Parker, Mr. Livingston, I haven't seen you for a while," Lancaster came down and said. "Lancaster? Why did you come here? You didn't inform me in advance." Harry was surprised. Lancaster said with a smile, "It was all my boss' idea. Don't blame me for coming to your door without saying hello, Mr. Parker." Harvey said with a smile, "Why did you have to snitch on me so quickly? Now I look like a bit of a fool." Lancaster was an old man in the Livingston family. He had been fighting with John Livingston since before Harvey was born, and he was loyal to the Livingston family. Harvey never regarded Lancaster as a servant. Instead, he always regarded him as his own relative. He was usually called Uncle Lancaster. Therefore, the two people usually liked to joke, but it was all harmless banter. "Ha ha ha! I brought you a gift. When I left, your father was rather upset, Harvey. I think I even saw him shed a tear." After hearing what Lancaster said about the gift, Harry was puzzled for a moment, and then he understood it a little. Turning to Harvey, he said, "I said I don't want to receive any gifts. Why do you bully me like this?" Randy also agreed and said, "Well, Harvey, you were too ungrateful. You have prepared a gift quietly behind my back and let me sit here making me look like a bad friend." Harvey quickly explained with a smile, "You have wronged me. I am not the one giving this gift." "Not you? Then who?" "Of course, it was my father. I contacted him on the day of my discharge from the hospital. He heard that Harry was moving to a new house, so he had to express his gratitude. What can I say?" Harvey also pretended to be innocent. Harry said helplessly, "What was this airlift that comes after all? Let me have a look first." He didn't expect that Harvey's gift was very big. He flew the gift from Washington directly by cargo plane. Harry was also curious about what he had brought. "Lancaster, let someone unload the present," Harvey ordered. "Yes, sir." Lancaster nodded and then turned to order the servants to unload the goods. When the cargo door at the rear of the plane was opened, several people pushed down a box slightly smaller than the container from above. They were still confused and didn't know what to do. The container was big, but it's all made of wood. "Is it a car for Harry?" Randy guessed. Millie nodded. "It's very possible. Look at the size." Randy thought about it and denied his guess. He shook his head and said, "It's impossible. Although Harry has only 2 cars, they were the best cars. There's nothing better than what he had." The so-called gift-giving was also an art. It must be given just right. It would be insincere to give such a gift that Harry would probably never use. "I think it should be some kind of strange stone. Was it reasonable to send this one?" Another person guessed, "What kind of rare stone was worth as much as the jade here?" Everyone agreed and nodded. Harry's manor can't be called a mansion anymore because it's covered with jade everywhere. It's so luxurious that it's inhuman. In contrast, any new stone would not fit with the motif, and they can't keep up with the level of purity here, so this view had been rejected. Just as everyone was guessing, a sound from inside the wooden box gave away the answer. Harry had a good memory. After hearing that familiar sound, he turned his head and looked at Harvey in surprise. "Did you get the Red Rabbit horse?" "What? The Red Rabbit horse?" Randy was startled and exclaimed. Others heard it, but they were confused. "Red Rabbit? What kind of Red Rabbit horse? How did they send a horse?" Harvey said with a smile. "Yes, it's Red Rabbit. How about that? You have to be surprised by that kind of gift." For Harry, this was really a surprise. The Red Rabbit horse, with the same name as a war horse, was the flesh and blood of Harvey's father. Harry didn't expect that when he moved to his new house, Sean Livingston could spare his love and send the horse directly by air. Harry was a little sad and said, "No wonder Lancaster said Sean had a runny nose and a tear just now. The original reason was here. How could he send the Red Rabbit horse to us?" Harvey said with a smile, This horse was growing up to be a fat pig in the house. If it stays any longer, it'll be useless. It's better to send it here. At least the island was large enough for him to run. Harry said with a bitter smile, "It's not like that. You should be honest. Did you make your own demands?" Harry thinks that Harvey must have taken the initiative to call Sean Livingston and asked him to send the Red Rabbit horse. Otherwise, Sean Livingston would send something less precious. Why would he send his baby here? Harvey said, Harry, you've wronged me again. I didn't expect that my father would send you a Red Rabbit horse." Harry shook his head and said, "It's too expensive. It's better to send it back. It's very kind. There's no need for us to give each other gifts like this." But the housekeeper said, "Sir, I'll have to inform you that this is a gift directly from my employer. Knowing him, this kind of gift is not given lightly. He would be upset if you didn't accept it. This gift was my master's wish. You'd better accept it, otherwise I'll take it back, and which will make my master look foolish." Randy nodded and said, "It's just a beast. Take it, Harry." Harry pondered for a while, then nodded and agreed. This was a personal society which stresses reciprocity. If Harry knew in advance, he would refuse. But now that the gift had been sent, if he return it, it will be the same as what Lancaster said. It would be very rude to deny this generous gift. Seeing that Harry nodded and agreed, Lancaster was very happy to ask his men to open the wooden door and pull out the Red Rabbit horse from inside. He also said with a smile, "This beast, when he got on the plane, he refused. Now he was willing to be led out. I think he is very happy to see Master Parker." Harry shook his head and said, "I'm not so close to it. I think it must be that he's been flying all the way in the sky. He must have been claustrophobic." When the Red Rabbit horse was let out, his appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Among the people present, only Harry and June had ever seen the Red Rabbit horse. Even Randy had just heard of it and never seen it with his own eyes. Now in front of everyone, immediately caused a breathing sound. "What a fine horse!" Millie said sincerely. Randy was also staring at the Red Rabbit and said, "I heard that this was a bloody good horse. I think it should be called the king of all horses." "No, it should be called Titan." One employee was shocked for a long time and didn't come back. After a long time, he took a deep breath and said, "There are no ordinary things around the boss." "Ah, what? What?" Someone didn't hear clearly. The man took a deep breath again and said, "Don't you think about it? First of all, the big gorilla, like King Kong, was unique in the whole world. Second, the boss's manor, built like the fairy palace. Now comes a beast of a horse. In fact, I don't think it's strange." All of a sudden, "It's really like this. The boss is like a large figure in history. No one could be this lucky. He's surrounded by things that most of us could never dream of." The appearance of Red Rabbit horse really shocked everyone. Because the horse's appearance was really good, a tall body, more than 2.5 meters, very powerful, highlighting the muscles, everyone knew that they were strong and powerful, good at rapid running. And all over, the fire-red hair. From a distance, it seemed that this was not a horse, but a fire, or rolling flame, very eye-catching. Now that Sean Livingston's kindness had been sent, Harry's refusal would be very unfortunate. "Lancaster has come all the way to work hard. I'm having a party at home today. Please come with me." Harry sent out an invitation. Lancaster waved his hand. "Don't be polite to me, Mr. Parker. I'm too old to play with your young people's things, so I won't attend the party. When the gift is delivered, I should go back to my master." When Harry saw the housekeeper's refusal, he was no longer reluctant. Tonight, all of them were young people. For the housekeeper, who was in his 60s, he really couldn't bear it. After a few words of greetings with Harry, Lancaster came to Harvey and watched him sitting in the wheelchair with his legs still in plaster casts. Tears came down in the old man's eyes. "Ah, sir, you have suffered." Harvey comforted. "It's okay. It's almost okay. Don't be sad." "I'm afraid. You said how dangerous it was. Sir, you must not go to dangerous places in the future." Okay, I'll be more careful in the future. Don't worry. Go back and tell my dad that I'm fine here, so he won't worry about me." Carol also comforted. "Lancaster, don't worry. I will take care of Harvey well." Well, I'll go back now, sir. I have to go back to help as soon as possible because of the disaster relief work." Harvey nodded. "Lancaster, you have worked hard." After the two parties left, the housekeeper took the same plane as before, rushed into the sky, and flew to Washington. There were some things left for Harry. Besides the red rabbit horse, there were also equipment and some special grain for maintenance. Before that wooden box, a little smaller than the container, Harry thought it was just a simple box. Now, when he looked carefully, he found that it was all the equipment needed for having such a large beast. Harry thought that the arrangement of Sean was very considerate, and it seemed that he really cared about the horse. He was afraid that he will make the red rabbit suffer. Therefore, Sean sent everything the horse could possibly need so it did not suffer and was in good care with Harry. With these things, even if Harry had no experience in raising horses, he would not have lost his head. Harry, they all say that the bloody horse runs fast. How fast is it? Let's have a look. Randy couldn't restrain his curiosity again, so he came up and suggested. Other people were also curious. In this society full of cars, ordinary people use trams and motorcycles even if they have no money. Not to mention horses, even donkeys and mules were rare. Only in those remote mountainous areas can people see some of them. Harry's new horse was a famous racehorse. Just looking at the shape, anyone can know how extraordinary this animal really was. It's said that a horse with hair as red as blood can go 1,000 miles a day. I don't know if it's true. Boss, let's open up the horse to see just how fast and powerful he really is. Looking at these people's sincere request, Harry shrugged his shoulders and said, Okay, then I'll slip him around. Then he grabbed the reins and put one foot in the stirrup to get on the horse. But before he got up, Harry was caught by June. What's the matter? June worried. Sir, this horse is too strong. It's dangerous for you to ride on it before you can tame it. Red Rabbit Horse had a strong temper. Harry and June know this. When they saw him at the Livingston Manor, they saw how strict and respected he was by the other horses. Harry was curious and wanted to answer everyone's questions, but June did not agree. It's no small thing to fall off a horse, especially a fast horse, which was easy to be life-threatening. It should be okay. You see, it's not very mad that it's being led by me now, Harry said. June still shook her head. Your safety can't be ignored. Let me do it. June had been trained in riding horses before. She could not say how skillful she was. At least she was better than those ordinary horse racing riders. Seeing June's insistence, Harry had to pass the reins to her. Well, be careful. Don't worry, sir. With my skill, even if I fall down, I'll be okay. June doesn't care about it. The Red Rabbit Horse ran very fast and had a strong temper. If the horse bumps into people, it will trample them to death. June would not let that happen. Well, you better run steadily. Safety first, Harry said. This side was worried. Randy was not enough and proposed, Harry, you can't see the speed just by running like this. It's better to compare with your supercar. Harry said, It's not too big for you to watch the excitement. No matter how fast the horse runs, it can't be compared with this supercar. Are you out of your mind? I'm just curious. Randy retreated. June took the reins from Harry, took off at the same place, and stepped onto the horse's back with a very elegant posture. On the back of the Red Rabbit's horse, all the equipment was installed. Saddle, high bridge stirrup, and reins to ensure good control of the horse. June's action of getting on the horse's back was very impressive, which immediately caused a burst of cheers. Look, she's worthy of being our boss's personal guard. She's really good at horse riding. Beauty and steed. My God, it's a perfect match. The combination of the two is beautiful. June's stature was the tall one among the girls. With her long and powerful legs, when riding on the Red Rabbit's horse, she adds to her bravery to her peerless appearance, which makes her look even more fascinating. Celeste, standing in front of the crowd, listened to the exclamations behind her and immediately pulled down the corner of her mouth. Early in the morning, she felt that Harry was different from June, and June spent more time with Harry than she did. It was in front of Harry, which makes Celeste feel very envious and jealous. She also wants to show off in front of Harry. Unfortunately, except for singing, dancing, and acting, Celeste can't do anything else. She can't even cook as well as June. Many times, Celeste felt puzzled. She felt that there was no such perfect woman as June in the world. It seemed that there was nothing she could not do. But jealousy belongs to jealousy, and Celeste will not be hostile to June and do some childish things to compete for favors. She knows that there won't always be just one woman around a person of Harry's status. It's useless to be jealous. It's the most important thing to keep Harry's pet around her forever. What's the matter? Is it uncomfortable to watch others show off? Issa Ivy whispered. Celeste shook her head. What'd you say? No, I'm a little unhappy, but I'm not crazy jealous. You don't have to worry about it, she said with a smile. Everyone has their own strong points. June, she's good at horse riding, but you're not good at nothing. Anyway, she's not a big star, and she's not as good at singing and dancing as you are. Celeste asked, how do you know that June is not good at singing and dancing? Have you ever seen her? It's not that I haven't seen her do it. So far, June has given people the impression that she's omnipotent. It seems that she finds no challenge in life and is just naturally good at everything. Even if Celeste has confidence in her own expertise, she will inevitably feel inferior when facing June. In this regard, Celeste was more determined to make things happen tonight. The idea was to play their virtuous side, let Harry know that she will not be the kind of unreasonable woman, but will satisfy him in any way she could. In Celeste's heart, only in this way, Harry would always love her. Just as they were murmuring, June in front of them had been riding on the red rabbit horse for a few rounds and got familiar with him. It's not like driving a new car. Horses handled relatively the same, and it just took a small amount of time for a professional to learn the habits and quirks of a new horse. After a walk, June shook the reins in the people's expectant eyes and drinks. Hey-ya! They saw a red flame dancing in an instant, and the red hair of the red rabbit horse rippled like waves in the rush. All the people just felt a gust of wind coming, and then they lost the trace of June and the red rabbit horse. The sudden speed was too fast. People did not respond. A person and a horse has run out of the distance of hundreds of meters. How fast? The starting speed at this moment was much faster than the supercar Millie often plays with cars and was most sensitive to speed. She could feel the speed of that moment just now. Even the Wayland supercar of Harry's couldn't match it. It's a bloody horse! The speed was absolutely amazing, the crowd exclaimed. The runway Harry built on the island had a total length of more than 3,000 meters. The straight track let the red rabbit horse give full play to its unparalleled speed. It's not too fast to describe it as fast as lightning. In a short time, June had been riding a horse for a round trip. When the flaming figure ran in front of the crowd, June pulled the reins on the horse, and the red rabbit's front hooves raised high and stood up. After a roar like a dragon, the dancing flame disappeared, and June and the red rabbit horse reappeared in front of the crowd. Everyone looked at each other, full of an incredible feeling. Just now, that scene happened too fast. They only saw a red figure, brush ran out, and then ran back. The horse had run the total length of 3,000 meters of runway and had actually run a round trip, which was very surprising. Harry was keeping time to see. Now he looked down at the watch and found that only less than a minute, strictly speaking, 55 seconds had passed. That was to say just now that the average speed of the red rabbit horse was more than 50 meters per second, which was almost the same as flying. Harry looked at the time a little in awe. Randy came to have a look and immediately exclaimed, "It's less than a minute." What? Less than a minute? Oh my God, so the horse can run nearly 60 meters in a second? How awesome! Among all the people, Harvey was the calmest. Looking at Harry, they were surprised. Harvey shrugged his shoulders and said, I said that this horse was very fast. This speed is normal. Is that normal play? I'd say it's more than super normal. Randy pursed his lips and said, I know the comparison is a little weird, but your supercar has that kind of speed, doesn't it, Harry? That would mean the horse is just as fast as your supercar. Harry shook his head. I can't say that. There are no physical limits for the car to run. As long as there was fuel, it would run for a long time. This horse would not work the same way. I estimate that 3,000 meters was the distance for its normal speed. If the track was a little longer, its physical strength would definitely drop and its speed would slow down. Harvey agreed. Harry's right. The advantage of the red rabbit horse was that it can accelerate quickly in short distances, but it lacks endurance. Randy shook his head and said, That's great. No wonder the champion trophy can be so easily gotten when racing. Who can match the speed? Harry said with a smile, If we have a chance, let's do some horse racing. It's said that we can get a lot of money to win the championship. People immediately said with a smile, Are you still short of money? Harry waved his hand and said, Well, we're not here to watch the horse run around tonight. We'll all go back to the manor and continue to party. Now let's see if we can make it sweat first. Is it true that it will sweat blood? The crowd came up and said. June, who jumped off the horse's back, shook her head and said, I didn't run far just now. This horse didn't sweat at all. Everyone was disappointed. Harry recruited a few wolf guards and told them to place the horse and mobile horse stable in the open space not far from the manor. The environment here was good and the location was open, which was more convenient to take care of the beast. After taking people back to the manor, those who had been roaming around the island had also returned one after another. These explorers had seen Harry with a large group of employees coming back. Many people were curious to ask what was going on. When the employees at the airport explained that their boss had got a new horse, the people who didn't follow immediately beat their chest and feet. I regret that I was so fascinated outside just now that I didn't see such a wonderful scene, said one of the disappointed wanderers of the island. They were upset that they didn't see the horse, but they were more upset that they didn't get to see June riding such a horse. But this didn't last long. People gathered around the manor, and the party began to be lively. Harry's entertainment company was now medium-sized, but the quality of the company's artists was almost incomparable. In other words, few in the world could match Harry's beauty resources. Celeste and Issa Ivy alone were already top world-class superstars. In addition, the new Dream Angel group, in which the four beauties were all beautiful. In addition to these star artists standing in front of the stage, the management of the company was also beautiful. Chelsea, the president, and Jen, the director of image design, were just as beautiful as their top stars. It's a pity that they are now sitting in Maryland and didn't show up at the party tonight. With so many artists present, the atmosphere around the party was certainly lively. In front of Harry, many people wanted to show off their talents. Those young beauties who had just signed into Harry's company were even more enthusiastic. At the poolside of the back garden, some took off their coats and dresses, revealing the bikinis and attractive figures underneath. All kinds of hot dances made the single male staff entranced. Harry had just come to mingle and had the whole party in his view. This changed into Jessica and Tammy as they stood in front of him. After pouring wine into Harry's glass, Jessica asked, Boss, we have been in Florida for several months. You have also built a manor here. Are you going to make it back to Maryland? What, are you homesick? Harry asked. Jessica shook her head. It's not that. I'm very happy with you here. Moreover, I think Florida is much better than Maryland. Harry said with a smile. I also think so. Although Maryland is more prosperous than Florida, it's always too noisy. It's better to be quiet here. The companies you built are still there. Chelsea and Jen were supporting it with all they have, Tammy said. Harry thought for a while. What you said is also a problem. I will just move the company HQ over here. Really? It's great if it's like this. Florida is so beautiful. It's a beautiful place with beautiful scenery and a good environment. I don't want to go back to Maryland, Tammy said. Harry smiled and didn't answer again. It's not much trouble to move the company. Harry had considered it before. But on the other side of the company, Chelsea and Jen still have to go to school now. It's inconvenient to move to Florida. Anyway, there was less than a year left for them to graduate. He would just wait until they get their diplomas. Although Chelsea and Jen have become Harry's employees and belong to the top management of the company, it doesn't matter if they don't want this graduation certificate. With Harry's ability, they were already the chief board of directors of Maryland University, and it was extremely simple to give them a diploma. But it would be a pity to have stuck with the college for that long and not come out of it with a degree. Harry thought pulling them out would be easy enough, but in the end, having a degree gave them a sense of pride. Chelsea and Jen also thought so, but they want to get their diplomas through the normal way. They didn't want to rely on their relationship with Harry. So, for the time being, Harry's entertainment headquarters still had to be located in Maryland. Only other industrial centers could shift to Florida. There was another reason why Harry wanted to come to Florida for development. As one of the most prosperous states in the U.S., Maryland had few channels to make money there. All kinds of rich families have their own industries and their networks were complicated. Before they were in Maryland, Harry only developed a little bit and was subjected to all kinds of repression and conflicts. Although the final result was Harry's victory, he would inevitably encroach on the interest of more people if he continues to develop. Harry was not afraid of trouble, but he didn't want to make too many enemies. Florida was different. This was Randy's territory. No one dared to come forward and make trouble for him. Harry, together with Randy and Harvey, were three people working together to make money, forming a monopoly-like existence. Anyone who dared to pick up things in Florida was just waiting for Harry's thunderous attack. That's why Harry began to lean towards Florida. Only a few industries that could be relocated were kept in Maryland for normal operations. The most important thing was that the south of Florida was a great staging area for various projects. With Harry's strength, it can't be swallowed in one gulp, but it can be eaten slowly. At the party, the atmosphere gradually reached its climax. When Issa Ivy came on the stage to do DJ, the dynamic music really started to come together. Even a lot of reserved people couldn't help but to run to the dance floor and start dancing. Tammy used to do live broadcasts for a living that took lots of planning. Now, all she really had to do was use her phone and start broadcasting. Now she couldn't help but reflect on her past, but she knew she was different. In the past, she was just a little popular anchor, but now it's different. Not only was she in one of the most popular dance groups in the world, but also there were more celebrities at today's party. Tammy didn't want to be rude, so she asked Harry if it would be okay to broadcast the event. Harry was surprised and said, "You still live stream? I thought you haven't done that in a while." Tammy said with a silly smile, "Why not? Before I was a nobody and the butt of every joke online. It wasn't very fun all the time, and I almost gave it up. Now that I'm famous, thanks to you, I thought it would be fun to go back to that world and rub my success in all the naysayers' faces." Harry knows Tammy's experience. When she was a streamer, she was almost broke. She even tightened her belt to buy cosmetics. Harry thought it was strange that there were a lot of rude people that demanded free content from streamers and didn't understand why they were willing to do that job for free. However, there were less tasteful avenues that Tammy was aware of that could make her a lot of money. She was unwilling to do it until the money was really tight. Fortunately, Harry came into her life and she was not forced into such things. Looking at Tammy's expectant eyes, Harry smiles and said, "If you want to open a live broadcast, you can open it. Not a very private party. Don't record me, though." "All right." Tammy stood up and ran excitedly. Jessica worried, "Is it appropriate to have a live broadcast on such an occasion tonight?" Harry said, "It's okay. What's the matter with showing off all the stars? Can't you let people play? There's no shame." Tammy often plays around like this. You can't indulge her too much. As the captain of the Dream Angel group, Jessica was very responsible for her team members. To say that this was not to speak ill of Tammy in front of Harry, but to say that Tammy usually does a lot of mischievous things. If she doesn't ask for advice, she will easily get into trouble. Harry shook his head and said, "Let's play with her. In fact, she knows something about it. Tammy seemed to be very inspirational in the past." Jessica couldn't help but laugh. For the first time, she heard someone describe Tammy like this, which was quite vivid. On the other hand, Tammy, who had found a good place, has already started the live broadcast. Her live account now had millions of followers, which was a terribly large number. Apart from those people who especially use bots to make their accounts look more impressive, Tammy's numbers were not at all false. This live account was her own, and she had been using it since the start. Because there was no need for Harry to go through the channel of live broadcasts to make his artist famous, the company had a lot of resources, whether it was music producers who created first-class songs or a big production of film and television projects. Plus, the exposure of various media outlets was not better than the live broadcast. For live broadcasting, Harry always let his artists play, just play by themselves. There was no limit, and there will not be much support. Therefore, what Harry didn't know was that Tammy accumulated millions of fans in a short time with the help of the reputation of being a member of the Dream Angel group. Therefore, when Tammy was online, hundreds of thousands of people were pouring into the chat room in an instant, and the number was still rising rapidly with time. "Tammy, I miss you so much. You haven't been live online for several days, and you were so sad that others were left out." A barrage appeared in the live room. Tammy only had time to see some more prominent ones, and the others crossed too fast, so she couldn't see them at all. "I'm so sorry to have kept you all waiting for a long time. As you all know, I've been rather busy recently, but our boss said that we'll have a long holiday when we finish shooting this film, and I can go online and meet more with you." A sharp-eyed man saw the scene at the party behind Tammy and asked curiously, "Tammy, what do you mean filming? What's the situation behind you?" Other people were also curious about this question, and they were all asking at the same time. Tammy has been live for a long time. After becoming an idol, she had seen many big scenes. Now facing the camera very freely, after seeing the audience's inquiry, she said very casually, "Oh, the boss moved to a new house today and let the whole company come to party." Then she turned the camera to the scene of the party, which immediately made the live room explode. Don't look too carefully. Under Tammy's mobile phone camera, the star artist at the party let everyone see clearly. My God, it's Celeste, my goddess. Issa Ivy's there too. I can't do it. I'm going crazy. It's not only Celeste and Issa Ivy who are big stars, but also the little artists in Harry's company have many fans. Now, so many idols have come together, but these audiences were very happy. In particular, it's more exciting to be able to see the other side of my idol that I can't see in Tammy's live broadcast. Of course, the audience's focus was not just on their idols. The unruly party of Harry's company with all the famous artists that everyone found beautiful were seen in their natural demeanor and not expecting to talk in front of a camera to all their fans. Across the screen, Tammy could sense something had changed. The number of people living in the studio had risen from more than 100,000 at the beginning to hundreds of thousands, and now millions of people were still going up crazy. Tammy started receiving a large amounts of donations from her viewers. After a long time, Tammy received hundreds of thousands of rewards. This was just the beginning of the live broadcast. Not even 10 minutes had passed. The speed of making money was terrible. Of course, it's not always like this every time. The main reason was that today's scene really excited the fans. Tammy looks up at the rockets flying in her live studio and was very happy. Although she was now a popular rookie idol, Harry's treatment of Tammy was not low. The four of them shared a large part of the money they earned. However, who would think that there was too much money, especially with Harry, a big boss? Tammy thought that those people with billions of assets were average. The audience on the live stream began to be curious about Tammy's boss. Online for the new rise of the Dream Angel group was very surprised. No one can imagine that four previously unknown girls, after a hotel opening ceremony performance, immediately became popular. There were careful people through a variety of analysis found that the operation behind this person was really not simple. Let's not say anything else. The big show used the lights of the whole city as the background, as well as a sun-blocking airship. The cost of all this was astronomical. It was terrifying to think about it. The boss behind the scenes of the Dream Angel group had been the target of guessing their identity for a long time. What kind of courage was it to be willing to throw out astronomical funds to make four unknown girls popular? Today, Tammy was attending a party at her boss's home, and the scene was full of stars, which makes people feel less incredible. With such a powerful boss, it was easy to find a bunch of stars' idols to play at home. Then, everyone's attention turned to the new home of Tammy's boss, the gentlemen who were fascinated by a bunch of swimsuit beauties. Now they had a good look at Harry's manor. The whole barrage in the studio was in awe. Luxury was an understatement. Exquisite designs, harmonious natural layout, and the most amazing jade structure just let people's imagination play to the limit. Can't imagine that there would be such a fantastic manor in this world. I just want to ask, was this where people actually live? I'm thinking about that too. Me too. Ditto. Isn't this the paradise garden in my dreams? It's really there in the world. How rich is the boss of Tammy? The manor worth tens of millions at least. Tens of millions? Brother, are you here to be funny? The jade carving landscape beside the swimming pool was more than 10 million. Is it really a manor built of jade? It breaks through the limit of imagination. I thought it was all made of plastic. I work with jade a lot. I could tell you responsibly that, from my point of view, this manor uses real jade. It looks like jade according to its color and shine. Isn't it true that jade was out of production? How can there be so much of it? Yes, it's incredible. This jade was the top jade. How expensive is this whole manor that's covered with jade? Tammy turned to the camera and looks at the barrage in the live broadcast room. Suddenly, she feels a little proud. These people were shocked by Harry's manner and respected Tammy. Looking at those questioning voices in the barrage, Tammy said more surprising news with a smile. Don't be surprised. All the jade here was locally sourced jade because my boss has a whole vein of jade under the manor. As soon as the words were said, the whole studio was quiet. It's very special to own a whole jade vein. If you were short of money, just dig 2 shovels worth and sell the dirt. Won't you make a lot of money? Normally, stream viewers like to give donations to see their names on the screen. They had begun sending donations as soon as they saw Tammy was live. But today was different. In the face of Harry's beyond imagination mansion, These people couldn't find pleasure in themselves if they showed off their reward gifts. It was worth more to pick a brick from Harry's manor than to reward them with hundreds of rockets. In the beginning, Tammy wondered why the reward suddenly disappeared. After a while, she realized that it was Harry's manner that frightened everyone. After looking for Tammy for a long time, Celeste finally found her in a slightly secluded place. Looking at her holding the mobile phone in high spirits, Celeste was a little angry. "Tammy, what are you doing here? Have you forgotten that you have business tonight?" The live broadcast was still on. The audience was very excited when they saw Celeste coming, but now they couldn't understand what she was talking about. No matter what her fans think, Tammy first apologized and turned off the live broadcast, leaving everyone with endless regret and a bad aftertaste. Tammy's live broadcast just now was not so wonderful. It was just a daily chat with fans. All that splendor was shown for such a short time, and her audience didn't know what the whole reason for the live stream was. Many of them said frankly that they would die without regret if they could see such a shocking scene in their lifetime. But before waiting for people to have a good time, Tammy didn't explain anything and closed the stream directly. "Were you on the air just now? Did you turn it off?" asked Celeste. "What we're going to say next, extremely confidential. If someone listens to it, it's a big deal." Therefore, Celeste repeatedly asked, waiting for Tammy to close the stream. Tammy also knew that the truth was not simple. She turned off her mobile phone directly. Then she said, "I'll ask you again. Were you sure you want me to do that tonight?" Celeste naturally said, "Sure, it's all agreed. You know the reason why I did it. What's more to worry about? Don't you want to do it again? If not, then I'll go to other people." Tammy quickly stopped and said, No, I just want to make sure." "Then why are you still here? I've just led many people to drink a lot of wine for Harry. If you find an excuse to drink more with him, you'll win it tonight." Tammy worried. "It's not good to drink too much. Besides, June is always around Harry. If she doesn't agree with us to do this..." Celeste shook her head and said, "She won't take care of things. You can rest assured." Tammy nodded. "That's good. I'll go right away." Then she hesitated and went to Harry. Celeste looked at Tammy's back with a successful smile on her face and waved to Issa Ivy in the distance. Issa Ivy ran over and said, "What you asked me to prepare was done." "Thank you," Celeste said faintly. Issa Ivy said angrily, "There is a saying. I'm not sure what it is for this kind of situation." Then she thought about it and said, "Oh yes, it's called lead the wolf into the house." Celeste laughed. It's time for Celeste to carry out her great plan tonight. The reason why she chose Tammy instead of her best friend Issa Ivy was that Celeste was not sure what the consequences would be. Maybe Harry would hate the feeling of being calculated after waking up, so Celeste decided to leave some room. If she loses Harry's favor, she can't drag her best friend in, so it's natural for her to let Tammy do it. And Celeste also knows that Issa Ivy likes Harry very much. Since Harry saved her and she was betrayed by her secret love object, Issa Ivy has been relying on Harry in her heart. Others can't see it, but as her best friend, Celeste can see it clearly. Issa Ivy said angrily, "Now that you let go, you can't eat alone. If it's done tonight, you'll have to leave a place for me in the future." The meaning of this was to fight for the position beside Harry. Celeste didn't object either. She nodded and said, "Yes, I can't ask for it. As long as Harry is willing, I can satisfy him with anything." "You are really a great lover." Tammy came to Harry's side with uneasiness and embarrassment, a little excitement and glee after she separated from Celeste. Seeing the special liquor on one side of the table, Celeste clenched her teeth, took out a cup, and poured one for herself. What she didn't know was that this wine was really special. Not only this bottle of wine, but also the drinking water in Harry's room. Issa Ivy had put in some drugs to make Harry more agreeable. The purpose was to make sure that Harry would not be under control tonight. Everyone had a good time at the party. No matter who came up to Harry, they wanted to offer him 2 drinks. Harry also does not want to spoil everyone's interest, no matter who it was, whether it was his most ordinary employees or the company's high-level stars. Harry doesn't let others stop him from toasting. He drinks to the glass. In this way, even if Harry was the god of wine, he would be a little confused. Now he sat on the chair and watched everyone play happily. "I feel very happy. How long has everyone in the company joined in such a bustle?" Although Harry prefers to be quiet, he doesn't want to go out to join the bustle. But with his own people, Harry was still not willing to do anything too crazy. Just when Harry felt that he couldn't hold on and wanted to go back to his room to have a rest, Tammy came with the wine and said with a smile, "Harry, we haven't had a drink tonight. How can you leave?" June, who was supporting Harry, looks up at Tammy and her eyes become a little deep. She already felt that something was wrong with Tammy, but there was no malice, so June didn't say a word to stop her from toasting to Harry. Harry raised his eyelids and said with a smile, "It's Tammy, what have you been doing this whole time? When people came to drink with me just now, you ran away. Now I'm drunk. Were you doing it on purpose?" Tammy immediately flustered for a while, thought she was seen through by Harry, but still forced a calm way. "No, just now I had something else. Now it's not too late. Anyway, I don't care. Tonight, you drink with everyone. Can't leave me behind." Harry didn't drink too much today. It's good that his brain can try and recover a little bit now. He had no choice but to refuse Tammy. But it was not good to drink any more. He refused directly. After all, she was his old classmate, and now she was an artist in his company. In front of the whole company, he refused Tammy's toast. After that, Tammy must be very embarrassed in the company. After thinking about it, Harry could only take the wine cup. He thought that he would have another drink. After drinking so much tonight, he thought it was not bad to have one more drink. Tammy looked at Harry taking the wine cup, and the excitement in her eyes was irrepressible. Just now, for a moment, she was almost flustered. June's sharp eyes almost showed her intentions, clearly. Because it was the first time she had done anything remotely bad, Tammy's legs went soft, almost collapsed on the ground. Fortunately, June didn't stop her. She just watched Harry take the cup and touch Tammy. After Harry finished drinking, he said, "Why was this wine so hard to drink?" Then he shook and fell straight down. The people around immediately startled while shouting nervously, then quickly came forward to help. Harry did not completely faint. He was still awake, he just couldn't move his body anymore. Harry's difficulty raised a hand and said, I'm okay. Don't worry about me." "It doesn't matter if you have a big tongue. June, help your employer back to his room to have a rest." Harvey didn't drink at all tonight because he was injured. Harvey was the most sober person. June nodded and helped Harry to leave. But Tammy snatched over and said, "June, you're very tired to take care of Harry. It's rare for everyone to relax tonight. You can have a rest. I'll send Harry back to his room." Then she pulled Harry to her side. Because June was holding Harry's arm, she doesn't dare to use too much force, so Tammy takes him away. Looking at Tammy's gallant manner, June knows that there was something wrong. Although she doesn't know what she's up to, she can't just leave her boss alone. "No, I'm the boss's bodyguard. My duty is to follow him." June doesn't listen to Tammy at all, so she shakes her head and refuses. "June, why is it so hot in here? Help me back to my room to blow the air conditioner." Harry hummed. Didn't know whether the wine was strong or what was going on. Just now, he was still fine. After a while, his whole body became hot and dry, and his blood seemed to be boiling. "It's okay. I'll take you back." Tammy rushed to reply. June frowned, thinking that no matter what Tammy was going to do, as long as she followed Harry, he would be okay. Since she was willing to help him, she would. "June, I want to talk to you about something." June said faintly, "I'll talk about it later. I'll arrange Harry first." Celeste and June were almost the closest people around Harry, but the relationship between them was not so good, and they don't talk much together on weekdays. Therefore, at this time, Celeste suddenly stopped her, which made June a little unhappy. "What I want to tell you is very important, and I have to talk about it now, so let Tammy take Harry to his room," said Celeste. June resolutely refused. "No way!" Looking at them as if they were going to be in a queue, Jessica could only stand up and say, "It's okay. You have something to talk about. If you don't worry, June, I'll go with Tammy to take Harry." Usually, if you want to talk about the most popular person in the whole company, it must be Jessica. Even now that she has become a star, she never takes airs to treat ordinary employees. Therefore, Jessica was recognized as the best person in the company. At this time, seeing that Celeste and June couldn't get together, she stood up and became a peacemaker. Celeste suddenly followed Harry. In fact, the shock caused in the company doesn't have to be small, especially those girls in the company who do not regard the boss as having a relationship with Celeste, but being a rich single bachelor that would sweep them away one day. Now, if Celeste and June had a conflict again, it wouldn't be a pleasure for everyone. That would mean that Harry was up for grabs. Unfortunately, Jessica took the initiative to stand up and didn't make things worse. June stood still, and even Jessica's words would not shake her mind. Tammy was trying to make trouble. Jessica and she were a group. They usually have the best relationship. Who knows whether they were intentionally or unintentionally trying to fight. Seeing that Jessica had come out, June was still unmoved. Jessica had to get closer and whisper a few words in June's ear. People nearby didn't hear what she said, but they saw that June's eyes widened after hearing it with an incredible look. Really? Celeste raised her hand, motioned not to say any more. This silly girl was still in the dark. She doesn't know what kind of things she's involved in. Jessica just thinks that several people just don't have a good relationship, so she's not on the right track. Go, Tammy. What were you surprised about? Jessica urges away. Looking at Jessica holding Harry's other arm, Tammy opens her mouth. She really doesn't know what to say. Originally, the plan was good, but Jessica suddenly got into trouble. Tammy thought if she had been following her, how can she finish today's plan? With so many people here, Tammy had no reason to refuse Jessica's kindness. It was suspicious enough to fight with June. Now, if she refused Jessica again, needless to say, other people know that she had bad intentions. She had to lie through her teeth, and she was not happy to do so. Later, she had to find an excuse to send her away. Tammy thought to herself. Celeste and June go out to find a place to talk, while Tammy and Jessica help Harry leave the party and return to Harry's bedroom. The rest of the company would be eating and drinking and having fun. Carol saw all the scenes just now, and she was not really simple. In fact, her mind was very delicate. Others didn't see some things in it. She did. She couldn't help sighing. What a wonderful opera. Millie was holding a kebab in her mouth and asked, "What was it?" Carol smiles and shakes her head. "Nothing. You can continue to eat." Millie was a woman. She was usually careless. How can she understand the secret confrontation just now? It was said that the only woman can understand the war between women, but there was a special case here. Millie was absolutely not included. Harvey was a little worried and said to Carol, "I don't think it's right what happened just now. Was there anything wrong with Harry?" Carol said with a smile, "If anything can happen, it's all family business. Don't worry about it." Carol said with 2 words, "family affairs," very clearly, and Harvey understood them instantly. He couldn't help sighing. "Harry, this is really a good fortune." "Why are you envious?" Carol asked with a smile. But Harvey saw the murderous spirit hidden in it, and the desire for survival came up immediately. "Of course not. I'm a very lucky man to have met you, and you bring joy into my life. I am just happy for my friend, is all." "Well, that's about the same." Carol's face suddenly turned cloudy and sunny, and Harvey's mouth was stuffed with an orange with a smile. Harry, supported by Jessica and Tammy, went back to their room and began to hum. "It's so hot. Pour me a glass of water and turn on the air conditioner to cool down. How can it be so hot?" Jessica doubts away. "It just rained. How can it feel so hot?" Tammy knew that the medicine in the wine had begun to work. When she thought about the plan to be implemented tonight, her face turned red. This kind of thing she certainly couldn't tell Jessica, at least couldn't let her know now. She said with a smile, "Must be drinking too much, stomach burning. Jessica, you go back. I'll watch him here." She said so that Jessica can leave quickly and can let her finish the plan. But Jessica shook her head and said, "Save it. It's hard for you to take care of him yourself on weekdays, not to mention taking care of Harry now. I'm not at ease." "Ah," I said, "Jessica, you look down on me. How can I not take care of him myself?" Tammy's little temper came right away, and Jessica was not convinced. Jessica took a look at her and said, "Don't you count in your heart? Do you need me to say more?" Tammy was now unconvinced and very anxious. If Jessica stays here, how can she achieve good things with Harry? Anxious hate can't find something to throw Jessica out. "Well, don't talk about yourself. I'll pour some water for the boss." You could see that the boss's lips were very dry and cracked. Jessica said and went to find the cup. Although Tammy was worried, she can't help it now. Jessica doesn't leave, she has to change her mind. Her heart was in a mess, but also a little flustered. When Jessica was looking for a water cup, Tammy also wanted to drink some water to calm down. Then she said in a high voice, "Pour me a glass of water, too." "I see," Jessica answered helplessly. Harry's manner, Jessica was not familiar with it, so she found the water cup after looking in the cupboard outside. At this time, neither Tammy nor Jessica thought that in order to ensure the smooth completion of the plan, the drinking water in Harry's room had been given medicine. No one would have thought that Celeste, who was originally Harry's woman, even gave Harry medicine. Therefore, no one was prepared for this, and this aspect was not considered at all. Jessica took 2 cups and poured water on them. She felt that it was a little hot, so she took a sip to try the temperature. Unknowingly, she didn't say a word. She lifted it up and poured it all into her stomach. And Jessica drank 2 mouthfuls, felt that the temperature had dropped, and then personally sat by the bed to serve Harry to drink. At this time outside, Celeste had explained this matter to June. Although she didn't have to worry about her boss's safety, June still couldn't believe that Celeste would make such an unexpected move. So it's good for Harry. I don't want to hurt him, but I want to stay with him all my life. This idea may not be a good one, but I think it's useful, Celeste explained. Are you not afraid that he'll blame you when he wakes up? June asked. Celeste said with a relaxed smile. I'm afraid that's why I explained it to you clearly. In case Harry blames me, can you help me beg for mercy? After all, you've been with him for the longest time. June frowned and said in a low voice, I only listen to his orders. I'm not his counsel. Then she turned and left. When Celeste saw that she was not going to Harry, she was relieved. At this time, Issa Ivy, who has been watching in the distance, leaned over after June walked away. Harry's wine has also been drugged. Back to the room in case of drinking the medicine in the water. Double down. I hope he doesn't have an accident. Celeste shook her head and said, No, this medicine is very safe. If you drink too much, it's more powerful than usual. Then she looked to the manor and whispered, It's time to see if she should start. Although Issa Ivy was a Westerner famous for her openness, she was a rare conservative woman. The feeling was very simple and still keeps the purity of the body. Listening to Celeste that drinking too much medicine will be very powerful, she thinks of some of the previous friends to see their own film screens. Her face immediately turned red. But it's a shame. I'm not with you anymore. I'm leaving. Then she ran away. Issa Ivy was Celeste's accomplice. At this time, she suddenly feels that she had gone too far in this matter and she was a little afraid. She decided to go out and hide first. In case Harry wakes up in the morning, he couldn't carry his small arms and legs. Celeste wasn't worried. She's Harry's lover anyway. Although Celeste worries that she will be out of favor, it's only how long. It won't be so soon. So Issa Ivy thinks about it and thinks that if Harry was punished, she must be the heaviest or she should be safe. So she didn't even say goodbye to Celeste. She left Allen Island and went back to Moon Island's camp. She was shivering in her quilt. She sincerely prayed for God's blessing. Tomorrow, Harry will not spread his anger on her. Celeste stood in the back garden looking at the room with light on the second floor of the manor building in the distance. Her heart was mixed. Harry was sent out this way. Although she led all of this, she was not happy. With a sigh, she thought that maybe her best friend was right, but if not, she would lead the wolf into the house. In Harry's room, after drinking the water, not only did he not feel the dryness and heat coming down, but it was even worse. Even that barely maintained a trace of mind began to become blurred. Harry thought that it was strange today. He didn't drink too much at ordinary times. How did he do it today? Was it the wine Brandy brought? Chaos in the brain really can't consider such a complex thing. Harry will feel like he has a kind of desire to vent. The feeling of dryness and heat in the body was becoming more and more intense. In the end, it seemed that he had turned into a flame and started to burn. What Harry doesn't know was that now it's not just his own feelings. Tammy and Jessica, who were also in the room, began to feel something wrong after drinking water. Everyone's constitution was different, and the time of drug use was different. Jessica was the first to feel something wrong. Although she drinks the least amount of water, it doesn't stop her from feeling the effects. Tammy, do you think it's really hot? Jessica wiped her forehead and found that she was not sweating. The feeling of dryness, heat did not come from outside, but from her own body. Yeah, what you say that, it seems like I feel a little hot too. Tammy also began to attack. What's the matter? Was the temperature of the air conditioner in the room too high? Jessica doubts away. At a glance, the temperature of the central air conditioner shows that it is normal, not high. Strange, it's not because of the air conditioner. Open the window for air, Jessica said again. For the medicine and the wine tonight, Celeste had already explained to her the situation when it worked, and now it was undoubtedly proved that they did not know when to drink it.
It's only in the wine. I didn't drink it just now, Tammy whispered.
When she toasted Harry just now, Tammy and Harry didn't drink the same wine in the same bottle, so she couldn't figure out when she took the medicine. What do you mean, what wine? Jessica asked suspiciously. Tammy was startled, almost let Jessica to hear quickly cover up.
Nothing. I mean, we may also drink wine. Now we must be wine drunk.
Oh, that makes sense. Jessica nodded. Then the normal eyes suddenly became blurred. They began to lose their balance.
Tammy, I feel so bad now. Jessica, me too.
And two people nearby originally already lay down on Harry, at this time whole body blood boiling, the skin was redder. Blue veins bursted out on his neck and countless beautiful scenes appeared in his mind. Harry was tempted, began to lose his mind and wanted to do some things. Originally drunk, and with the help of drugs, Harry would have lost his senses. He was like a mad lion. From the bed and down, next to the two girls on the ground. Fortunately, there was a thick and soft floor in the room. Otherwise, under the uncontrolled force of Harry, they would have to be injured. But now the two people were knocked down by Harry didn't feel the pain. Instead, they began to take the initiative to cater to Harry. The next day at noon, the dazzling sun shines on Harry's eyelids through the gap of the curtain, and Harry wakes up slowly from a deep sleep. He felt that he didn't have a good rest at all last night. He felt that his back was aching. It seemed that he had been working out in the gym all day. Harry was a little puzzled. He thought it might be because the bed was not suitable or the design was not suitable. He considered whether to change to another one. When he was about to get up, he felt something was wrong. On the wide bed, the blanket was not small. Harry suddenly lifted up and saw the situation under the quilt.
What happened last night? Why are these two here? Why are they not dressed?
Looking back for a long time, Harry couldn't remember what happened last night and how it became like this. He vaguely remembered that Tammy and Jessica taking him back to his bed. It's because I've been drinking too much and I didn't give June any respect. It's similar to Celeste's time. Have I changed? Harry said to himself. Harry was so confused about the current situation that he didn't know what happened last night. He didn't know what happened, but he could easily guess. Now the situation makes Harry feel really bad. He drank too much last night, in a daze. He only knows that Tammy and Jessica took him back to his room. Then his whole body was hot and dry. After drinking a glass of water, he can't remember anything. Now he woke up in the face of such a ridiculous situation. Harry did not know what to do. Harry was no stranger to what happened last night. He was only worried if they had been with him by choice or if he forced them somehow. Harry thinks that no matter what the situation is, it's a bit tricky and weird. When Harry was in a daze, Tammy and Jessica woke up slowly because of Harry's actions. They opened their eyes almost at the same time. Tammy was okay, although she was a little confused about last night's situation. She planned it herself, so she was ready. She doesn't say anything when she wakes up. But Jessica was not the same. Looking at his whole body was not a piece of thread, and then silly to see the same Harry and Tammy. A scream resounded over the whole estate. Wait, don't shout. Calm down. Harry suddenly became Harry. Tammy also helps to say, Jessica, calm down. Jessica at this time in the heart was in fact ignorant force, just subconsciously shouted in the heart, don't know what to use to face Harry. After shouting, she immediately pulled the quilt over and covered her head. Harry rubbed his hair and asked, Tammy, what's the matter? Tammy bowed her head and stammered, I don't know. I don't remember what happened last night. She really didn't lie. Although she was flustered, she was telling the truth. It can only be said that Celeste's plan was perfect. In order to ensure that Harry successfully took her, all kinds of drugs almost brought down the water and food in Harry's room. Whether it's drinking or eating, there's nothing wrong with it. At this time, facing Harry's inquiry, Tammy was guilty, but also with the curse to Celeste. It's crazy to count all the schemers on the teammates. Don't you remember? How could it be? I drank a lot last night. Did you and Jessica get drunk? Harry thinks it's a little strange.
No, I don't know. I really don't know anything.
Tammy has made up her mind and won't say anything about it. Now, Harry's appearance was obviously a little suspicious, but not to Tammy's body. So it's okay not to say it. Harry may feel guilty for what he had done, but if she said it at all, it would be Harry's anger. Therefore, Tammy now closed her lips. She did not reveal any information, just shook her head and said she did not know. Harry scratched his head again, and his heart was very tingled. After a long time, he sighed. What's the matter? Tammy was silent. She had been fond of Harry for a long time. She always wants to say it, but because of the difference between them, she doesn't dare to say anything. Only by chance of Celeste's decision was she able to get what she wanted. But in the middle of an accident, who would have thought that Jessica was also involved in this matter? At present, Tammy didn't know what to do. If she's the only one, it's easy to say anything in front of Harry, but now with Jessica, it was complicated. Looking at Harry's helpless head scratching, hiding in the quilt, she looks out at Jessica, but now she has courage. Boss, I think we were together last night, Jessica asked weakly. She had the courage to speak, but she still felt guilty. It should be Harry who feels guilty about this kind of thing. But Harry in this matter is in fact innocent. He just did not know how innocent he was. And Jessica was even more innocent. She was caught in the plan on accident. Isn't that obvious? Well, I don't know what to say. Harry has no choice but to say. Jessica was very understanding. Boss, although I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to feel sorry. Harry's eyes gave a firm stare. How is this possible? I'm not the kind of guy to do this kind of thing. But, well, you were drunk last night, Jessica said weakly. At this time, hiding in the quilt, Jessica, in fact, the heart was not lost. Although she lost herself last night, she was glad it was Harry. She felt a trace of joy in her heart. Looking at Harry's endless tangle now, Jessica could only pretend that the injured person was not herself so she could persuade him. Harry had a bit of a headache. It didn't matter much to say that this matter will come naturally at ordinary times. After all, in today's society, this kind of thing was really no big deal. But it was bad last night. The whole company was there, and the whole manor was full of people. When this happens, no one will not know, let alone they caused such a scene going up to his room. If Harry doesn't take it seriously, what will others think and how will his employees react? Say your boss was a scumbag or a playboy, most importantly, what would Celeste think? Now Harry was more concerned about Celeste. Harry, it's nothing. It happens unintentionally anyway. You don't have to blame yourself, Cammy also said. Harry wiped his face. He couldn't figure out what to do in his mind, so he had to say, Get up first. Things have happened. I won't pretend it was nothing. I will take the responsibility. As for the future, let me think about it. Then he got up first, found his clothes scattered on the ground, and put them on. In the process of dressing, Harry found Tammy's and Jessica's clothes on the ground, but most of them had been torn one by one. Their clothes had become like this. Obviously, they can't wear them. Harry had no choice but to let them wait. He went out to find June to see if she could find some suitable clothes for them to put on first. After Harry walked out of his bedroom door, June kept waiting outside as usual. Seeing Harry go out, June respectfully said, Sir, you woke up. Did you have a good rest last night? Did you feel uncomfortable there? Harry awkwardly moved his limbs and felt that he was really sore all over. A wry smile. You know about last night? June nodded silently. Harry said, Why didn't you stop such a ridiculous thing? It's not within the scope of my duty. Besides, I can't intervene in the sir's private affairs, June said faintly. Why? Harry snorted. You have something to say. Don't you know how it happened? Harry was not stupid either. He could see that it's wrong through June's tone. Last night, after Celeste had a private chat with June, Jude did know what was going on and didn't stop her. As Harry's bodyguard, others were not qualified to hinder Harry's good deeds. Celeste asked June to keep it a secret. But how could June listen to Celeste? Now facing Harry's inquiry, June nodded directly. Yes, I know what it was. Harry suddenly jumped. I know you didn't say it earlier. You sincerely see me as a joke, right? He was not the kind of person who has a promiscuous private life. Although he was willing to talk with women, this kind of one-night group activity was ridiculous, and it seemed that all of his subordinates know it, which was a bit embarrassing. Facing Harry's blame, June said calmly this time. This matter was planned by Celeste. Last night, you were not drunk, but was given some drugs to help you move things along. What? He said. What do you mean? Celeste, she planned all this. At this time, Celeste, she planned all this. At that time, I wanted to stop it, but she explained it to me and I didn't stop it. June was still expressionless. If he didn't know that June ever lied, Harry would be petrified on the spot. Celeste was his girlfriend. Although she didn't put the relationship into practice, it's almost over. As Harry's woman, she gave him such a situation. Harry felt that either he was crazy or Celeste was out of her mind. June, you were joking with me in the early morning. How can Celeste do such a thing? What's wrong with her? Harry felt confused.
Sir, I think it's a bit ridiculous. Last night,
June repeated what Celeste said to her last night to Harry. After hearing this, Harry felt that he couldn't laugh or cry. In order to keep love in front of him, Harry doesn't know whether the woman was clever or stupid. Go bring her to me. June nodded and was about to turn away. Harry stopped her again and said, Wait a minute. Go to find clothes for the two in the room first. Then he held his head because of the headache. June nodded again and left without saying anything. After Harry waited for a few minutes, Celeste followed June. June held two clothes in her hand and said to Harry,
Sir, I'll send the clothes in first.
Harry waved his hand. Go. When June enters the bedroom and closes the door, Harry turns to Celeste. I found out today that you were really a genius. How can you think of such an amazing thing? Celeste was called over by June. She was already flustered. Now, when Harry said this, she didn't need to know that Harry understood the truth. As for how he knew, he wanted her to know that June told him. Celeste hates June in her heart, but she doesn't think she was strict enough to let June tell herself. You're very capable. I've thought about it a lot, but I didn't expect to be drugged by you. Why didn't you just talk to me? Harry said. Celeste was so scared that she went straight to her knees. Two big eyes instantly filled with tears, crying, I... What were you thinking? How could I end up doing something like this? Harry said angrily. Harry felt that he really underestimated Celeste. She was able to plan something so perfectly. Facing Harry's question, Celeste could not speak. She was worried that it would be known by Harry, but she made a fool of herself and let June tell the secret. She underestimated June. She thought June was just a guard, but she knew not to interfere in Harry's personal life. In the past, June was exactly what Celeste thought. She didn't care about other things except her own responsibilities. But now, June had changed her character unconsciously, and she was particularly concerned about Harry's affairs. Here, Harry stares at Celeste angrily. In the bedroom, June had already handed over the clothes to Tammy and Jessica. Facing June, they put them on awkwardly. They hear Harry, a little angry voice outside the room. Two people were also a little afraid of shaking. Although it was Harry who was taken advantage of last night, it depends on whose and what identity he had. Harry's status was so noble, but he was tricked by his staff. Now he was in a rage. Who would not be afraid? But Tammy was more responsible and asked June, Is Celeste outside? June nodded. Tammy clenched her teeth, pushed the door open, and went out. Seeing Celeste kneeling in front of Harry crying, Tammy also kneeled.
Harry, blame me if you want. I volunteered. It has nothing to do with Celeste.
Jessica saw the current situation, although still ahead of pace, but also vaguely felt that it might be a disaster. Then she knelt down and said, I'm also responsible. Harry immediately laughed angrily. What were you guys all thinking? You're all taking responsibility for yourself? Do you think I'm unreasonable? But Celeste almost jumped up in surprise, pointed at Jessica, and yelled, Jessica, why are you here too? Harry snorted coldly. It's not all your good work? Celeste didn't expect to buy one and get one free with her plan. Strictly speaking, the plan was very successful and it had exceeded the expected plan. Harry not only satisfied Tammy, but also picked up Jessica. The problem was that Celeste didn't want Harry to have both. Now she knows why Harry was so angry. Harry can't help but breathe deeply here. Inexplicably, there was a feeling of being played with. Boss, blame me if you want. I didn't take care of you last night. Jessica took all the responsibility to herself. This kind of thing, although men take advantage, women suffer, but Harry was clearly drugged and taken advantage of by his supposed girlfriend. Before Harry could speak, Celeste suddenly wiped away her tears and showed a flattering look. Okay, don't be angry. I'm doing it for you. Why are you angry now? Looking at Celeste, who used to be a pure girl, she suddenly turned into a charming one. Harry fell into deep meditation. When did everyone around him start to change? After a long time, Harry sighed deeply and said, This is not something I thought I'd ever have to deal with. After thinking for a long time, Harry decided not to think about it for the moment. Leaving the three people behind, Harry went directly downstairs to the kitchen. In the kitchen of the manor, Harvey was having lunch. Last night, the party lasted all night, and the staff have returned to the camp on Moon Island. Only Harvey and Randy stayed in Harry's manor until noon, when they just woke up for lunch. Seeing Harry with the face of fatigue when he came in, they had been talking about a few people, but suddenly stopped. One by one, they winked at each other, and Harry's eyebrows jumped. Enough, you guys. What's the matter with you in front of me? Harry was not happy. Randy asked with an obscene smile. Harry, how was last night? I think you're a little depressed now. You should pay attention to moderation. Harvey and Carol were holding their mouths and laughing. Harry's head was throbbing and the rest of his body ached. He was in no mood for their shenanigans. Despite this, nothing they said mattered. For what they were saying now, Harry blamed Celeste. Harry said, "You can't control your mouth when you eat." He then glared at several people. And in Harry's room, at this time, Celeste looked at Jessica and her mind was at a loss. What's the matter? You got involved? It should have been Tammy by herself. The plan exceeded the estimate. Celeste couldn't figure it out, why there was one more person. Celeste could not understand how Jessica got caught up in this mess of a plan. She was angry with Jessica for messing up the perfect plan that she had so that she could be with Harry forever. Jessica was surprised and said, Me? It's none of my business. You must be unreliable. Tammy said, You spiked the water in his room with the same drugs you spiked his wine with? Had you told me about the water, I wouldn't have had any. I just wanted to ensure success, only by surprise. Celeste explained. Jessica listens to the conversation between the two and finally clears up the clue. It turns out that you two planned all this, which is ridiculous, Jessica said in surprise. Celeste rolled a wide eye. It's ridiculous there. Do you feel aggrieved after taking advantage of it? This, Jessica said suddenly. She didn't mean that, nor was she aggrieved by Harry. On the contrary, she was a little happy. The only dissatisfaction was that it was not voluntary, but because of a drug. Therefore, her heart was still a little bit of a loss. Especially the tangled appearance of Harry let Jessica know that she was not qualified for the favor of Harry. Inside the kitchen, because Randy opened the gate, other people no longer held their tongues. One by one, he looks at Harry with a smile. Harry, tell me the truth. You were ecstatic last night. Randy asked with a wink. Yes, 2. How many men were looking forward to this kind of scene? Millie was not shy at all. She looked like a woman who could say whatever she thinks. Harry said, I don't remember at all. The water was drugged last night, and I didn't taste it at all. Harvey suddenly muddled. Someone dared to drug you in your own home? Harry said with a bitter smile. They dared, and they succeeded. Randy asked, Don't talk about last night. Harry, what are you going to do? Was it just a matter of playing around? Millie butted Randy with her elbow and said in a low voice, What are you asking? You should take care of this kind of thing. Randy called out with his stomach in his arms. When the pain was relieved, he returned to his original appearance. Looking at Harry, Randy said with a laugh, Well, if you want me to say, Harry, your manor was so big and there were so many rooms, it's too wasteful if there were only a few people to live in it. So what are you trying to say? Harry doubts away, Randy said with a smile. Since there are so many rooms to the house, I think, Harry, you might as well build a back palace here and it will be so cool to sing every night in the future. Others could not help laugh. Even the tangled Harry was now in a relaxed mood. Harry was not the kind of ruthless person who plucks birds. Since he has already possessed others, there must be a solution. Unfortunately, he couldn't think of it for a moment. He just didn't want to think about it. For the time being, he'll take it step by step and think about it slowly. Put down one's mind, another thing has to be considered by Harry. That's Juniper's school problem. After the child was rescued, she remained in the hospital for treatment. The course of intermediate learning must have fallen behind. She can't go back to school. Washington hasn't returned to normal yet. Besides, Harry had decided to take in Juniper, so it was impossible for her to go back to Washington to go to school. Transferring her to Florida was the most convenient. So Harry asked, You have any relationship with schools in Florida? I want to transfer Juniper to Florida. Randy found a chance to get rid of Millie's oppression. He got up from the ground and said, I have a way. I can find a good school for her. Harry nodded. It's up to you. We'll do it as soon as possible. But Randy shook his head and said, I don't suggest that Juniper should be admitted now. What do you mean? Randy continued. Juniper should be in the 4th grade of primary school now. After this semester, She'll be promoted to the 5th grade. It's not a problem to transfer. The problem is that the summer vacation is coming soon. This semester is going to pass. Harvey then said, yes, if you transfer to Florida now, you can't keep up with the class. It's better to wait until the summer vacation is over and let Juniper stay in grade 1 or go through the 4th grade so that she can keep up with the class. Harry nodded and thought what they said was reasonable. It's no use trying to transfer Juniper to another school if she can't keep up with her lessons, so it's best to stay at the same grade. Anyway, she doesn't know any classmates here. It doesn't matter whether she's in grade 5 or grade 4. Harry asked again. I inquired about it before. It seems that Florida was a little different from Washington in teaching. Harry was not so sure about the situation because he was just paying attention to it unintentionally. He doesn't know much about it. Randy naturally nodded and said, yes, Washington is a little behind, not as good as Florida. What should we do? If Juniper goes to school, she still doesn't adapt and can't keep up with her grades. What's the use of this? Harry frowned. Carol took the words. This is simple. Anyway, during the summer vacation, Juniper is idle here. Why don't you find her a tutor and let Juniper get familiar with the lessons here earlier? Harry's eyes brightened. A tutor? That's a good idea. After that, he looked at Randy and Harvey with disdain and said, look how good Carol's suggestion is. Like you two, you only remember to make trouble all day, but you don't say anything. Harry said, please, tutor is necessary. Just where do I find one? This problem has puzzled too many people, but Carol has already thought about it. She smiled and said, yes, I know someone. She's very good at teaching children and academic performance is particularly good. Anyway, she's much better than me. Do you want to let her try? Harry said happily, yeah, go back to the interview. If you're a top student at Florida Media College, it must be easy to teach a primary school student, right? Harvey said, you're not talking about who I think you're talking about. Carol nodded. Yes, that's her. Harvey immediately exclaimed, it would be great if she could come. Holly not only good grades in school, but also mastered all kinds of musical instruments and paintings. It's not too much to say that she is a talented woman. Harry, you can't neglect others at that time. Harry was surprised. He studied well and mastered musical instruments and painting. Isn't that a genius? He said with a smile, if you say so, we can interview her. Let's call on her to work. Carol said, that's not possible. We have to see if she can get along with Juniper. After all, tutoring was one-to-one teaching. She must get along with her well. Harry thought that what Carol said was also reasonable, so he nodded and said, okay, when will you inform me and I'll send someone to pick her up? Randy on the side was a little dazed. Is there such a powerful person? Why haven't I heard of her in Florida for so many years? Carol said with a smile, she's not from Florida. She just goes to school there. Besides, how can you know an ordinary student? Randy cried, ordinary student? Were college students so powerful, or am I ignorant? I really want to see what kind of girl is so powerful. Millie looked at Randy and said jealously, how do you still want to know and get familiar with her? Randy forgot that he was in the crisis of life and death. He nodded his head and said, I should know you. Harry shook his head and sympathized with him. Oh, the life of Randy in the second half of his life is so much more fun to speak of. Being beaten every day can strengthen his body. Harvey blinked and said, Harry, you're wrong. Maybe Randy enjoys such a situation. Harry, after thinking about it, it's really hard to say, especially now that Randy has been hit by all kinds of blows, but the scream was clearly with suppressed excitement. Harry immediately became thrilled and thought to himself, why didn't I find this guy had such a tendency before? Carol didn't want to comment on Millie's work. After drinking the soup in the bowl, she said, I'll make a phone call to see if Holly has any idea of being a tutor. Harry nodded with Harvey. Carol took the mobile phone out of the kitchen to contact outside. Just now, he forgot to ask, if Holly was not willing to come, let's see if there is any suitable ones to contact again, Harry said. Harvey said, don't worry, Carol is still very careful. Well, after a while, Carol returned to the kitchen. Ignoring the two people who were still wrestling on the ground, she said to Harry, my classmate agreed. If it's convenient for you, you can let her come for an interview tomorrow. Harry said happily, okay, I'll arrange someone to pick her up tomorrow. Is there any request for the fee? Carol shook her head. I didn't ask. You will talk about it tomorrow. Harry still attached great importance to the matter of inviting tutors. Of course, as long as they really have the ability, he would not be stingy in terms of treatment. Harry was prepared to give a lot for a tutor. After some discussion, Harry decides to go to Florida Communications University tomorrow to pick up the person. After lunch, Harvey and Randy left Harry's manor. They also have their own things to do. They couldn't stay on the island all day. After Harry sent the people away, he called Juniper, who was playing outside, and asked, "Tomorrow I'll invite a tutor for you. You still have to learn." Children were playful, and Juniper was no exception. If possible, no one was willing to accept the boring studies, but Juniper was more sensible. When she hears that Harry wants to invite her teacher to come over, she was a little resistant, but she was also very obedient. "Rather, I'll listen to you." "We'll let June take you to buy some textbooks and books for your studying later." Harry nodded. At Florida Communication University, Holly, the tutor Harry wanted to invite, agreed without much consideration after receiving Carol's call. In normal times, Holly was not going to go out to do a part-time job. First of all, she was not short of money. Her parents run a small decoration company. Although she was not in a rich family, her life was still rich compared with ordinary people. Furthermore, Holly has the title of a talented woman, which was inseparable from a lot of time spent on study and practice. No one was born with knowledge, especially in painting and musical instruments. Talent was important, but a lot of practice was more important. Therefore, Holly had no other idea except to concentrate on her studies all day. But it's not the same recently. There's something wrong with Holly's family business, and she was also affected. Although her parents didn't complain to her, her monthly living expenses were the same as before, which was quite a lot. But Holly knows that the money was taken out by her parents. Maybe it won't last long, and the family was likely to go bankrupt. She can help her family much now, but she can do some part-time work to earn some money and let her parents worry less about her. So after her friend Carol called, Holly agreed. Although they haven't talked about the salary yet, when they talked on the phone, Carol already said that her employer this time was a good friend of her boyfriend Harvey's. Carol's boyfriend thinks he is an ordinary person. Only Holly, who lives in the same dormitory, knows that Harvey was a super rich person and his family's money was astronomical. Since the employer was Harvey's friend this time, he must not be an ordinary person. He certainly has a good salary lined up for her. Therefore, Holly didn't ask more questions on the phone. When they meet tomorrow, she will know. Holly didn't like to dress up very much at ordinary times. Although she was not sloppy, she had to be more serious when she went to work for others for the first time. What's more, she was going to be a teacher for others this time. After hanging up the phone and thinking about it, Holly got up and prepared to go out for a haircut. Her appearance was still very beautiful. If the beautiful score was 10, then Holly was at least an 8. But she usually did not like to wear makeup and dress up, so she seemed a bit casual. This time she was going to be a teacher. She thinks she will have to clean up and be more serious. Out of school, they went to the nearest modeling center. When Holly came out again, she almost changed her appearance. The long, straight, and smooth hair swings with the wind. A pair of round frame retro glasses were on the white and small face, and the sharp chin makes her whole person look cute. Florida Communication University has never been short of beautiful women, but it was not common for Holly to be so charming. Walking on the street like this, everyone was staring. Holly had a tender face. Seeing that she has become the object of attention, she bows her head, blushes, and walks back quickly. Before entering the gate of the school, a man rushed out and said with an unexpected look, "Holly, are you Holly?" "Ah, it's Lassiter. What can I do for you?" Holly said. This man was a classmate in the same department as Holly, but he didn't talk much at ordinary times, so she couldn't talk about how familiar he is. "You are really Holly. Why are you so beautiful today?" Lassiter asked in surprise. In the department, the most beautiful one was Carol. Unfortunately, this beauty has been in a relationship for a long time. It's good for the boys in the same department to wish Harvey died in an accident. There were many beautiful girls under Carol, but Holly was not one of them. This was because she was too low-key and didn't dress up. She was wearing a pair of thick glasses with wide frames all day, and her hair had covered her face a lot. Now, after dressing up again, Lassiter was surprised. He didn't expect that there was such a beautiful woman hidden in the department. The most important thing was that no one else knew, and Holly had never had a boyfriend. "Lassiter, what's the matter with you? If it's okay, I'll go first." Holly frowned and looked at her classmate, who was in a daze in front of her. At this time, Lassiter's mind had been open for a long time. Although there were many girls in the department, there were not many good ones. There were a lot of single men, but not a lot of single girls. Now that there was an unexpected discovery, He had to find a way to grasp it in his own hands. So he said with a smile, there was no class today. I happened to meet you. Would you like to have dinner together? Holly shook her head and said, Thank you for your kindness. I ate already. Lassiter was not discouraged when he was rejected, so he continued to invite. Let's go out to the theater. There's a new movie coming out. Let's go and see it together. No, I have other things to do. You can go by yourself. With that, Holly will leave. Lassiter, who can't let her go that easily, cheekily reached out and grabbed Holly and said, Now, at least we have been classmates for 2 years. I'm really busy. I don't have time to go out. Holly was a little upset. But Lassiter said, Well, if you don't have time today, let's go tomorrow. I'll take you out tomorrow. Holly shook her head. There's no time tomorrow, Lassiter. I just got a job. I don't have time to go out to play. Please find someone else. Then Holly walked away without looking back. Only Lassiter, who was standing in the same place, was left. Lassiter saw Holly go farther and farther and unexpectedly caught up with her. Hey, Holly, wait a minute. You just said you were looking for a job. Lassiter knows something about Holly's family background. From her usual clothes, although Holly didn't usually wear exquisite clothes, she could see that Holly's clothes were not cheap. The conditions at her home were relatively good. Lassiter wasn't aware that girls dressed up to look for jobs, especially rich girls. Either they're busy going out with friends or busy dating their boyfriend. Now that Holly was going to work, Lassiter immediately realizes that she must be in trouble. After catching up, Lassiter said, Why didn't you say it earlier when you were looking for a job? My company is short of people. You can come to work in my family. We're all classmates, and I won't pity you. Besides, it's not safe for a girl to work in a strange place because of the chaos outside. Lassiter said kind-heartedly, the heart was to think. First to coax people to their own home, when the first time falls in their own hands, it was not like what they thought. But Holly obviously refused to give him a chance and said, No, I've already talked to someone. They will come to pick me up tomorrow. It's okay to talk about it. It's not like you signed the contract. Where do you work? Is it a reliable source? Is it a regular company? How much do you get paid? Holly frowned. She really didn't want to pay attention to Lassiter anymore, but she had no choice but to say, I'm going to tutor someone. The treatment hasn't been discussed yet. Lassiter said in a loud voice, No, how could this work? That's not very reliable. It's very dangerous for a girl to tutor now. Do you know that I read the news a few days ago and it said that a female college student was going to be tutored and Lassiter, it's my own business. I don't want you to worry about it. It's time for me to practice the piano. Holly said impatiently and turned away again. Lassiter was put aside and his anger came out. You don't know what's good for you. Then he turned around and left, but after a few steps, he felt unwilling. Lassiter was not going to let this kind of opportunity go. His eyes churned, and he had a plan. Tomorrow, then I'll have to act too. Then he took out his phone. Hey, Dad, I'll use the company's car tomorrow. What are you going to do? Where are you going to do with the car? Don't make trouble for me. It's not trouble. I want to take someone to visit the company. Lassiter's father knows what is going on. He laughs and says, Oh, you want to borrow the car to show off some girl, huh? Hey, can't hide anything from you. That's the case. What do you say if I want to borrow the car? Yes, tomorrow, I know. After the father and son talked on the phone, Lassiter chuckles with satisfaction. I'll see if you dare to be so cold to me when I drive my Maybach to you tomorrow. In the eyes of ordinary students, Maybachs were already luxury cars among luxury cars, which were not at the same level as those of normal cars. Lassiter just wanted to show off in front of Holly. Since she was looking for a job, she must be short of money now. Tomorrow he will show off his strength and offer a high salary. Lassiter didn't believe Holly could resist. The next day, Harry wanted to send his helicopter to fly over. But Manson's crew was going to use it today to shoot a group of aerial shots, so they were sent to Moon Island. On the side of Florida Communication University, Holly was ready early in the morning. After taking some personal things with her, she came to the school gate ahead of time to wait. She was going to interview with her first job in her life. She was still a little nervous. When it was almost the appointed time, the people on Harry's side haven't come yet, but Lassiter comes first. Looking at Holly standing at the school gate waiting alone, Lassiter smiles and asks the driver to park beside Holly, straightens his hair, and gets off by pushing the door. Holly, the person who picked you up hasn't come yet. If you want me to tell you, you better not go. There'll be all kinds of people outside. It's really unsafe. You better come with me. Holly looks at Lassiter in disgust and shakes her head. But this scene, the school gate comes and goes the person actually looks. Lassiter was usually a low-key person. No one knows that he has a big company in his family. He was a standard rich man. Today, Lassiter stepped down from a luxury car worth several $1,000,000. This scene shocked the people who came and went. Lying truff, Maybach, this car can be seen as the school gate. What's the matter? It's nothing. Haven't you seen a sports car? You know what? It's a luxury car with millions. Ordinary sports cars don't look good enough in front of it. Only those rich bosses can use it. Millions of dollars? I remember a few days ago that crashed sports car was only $3 million, right? How much is this car? I just checked in my mobile phone and found that this car has no high configuration and low configuration, only one model worth 8.5 million. More than 8 million. It's a luxury car just as he said. He saw Lassiter come out of the car. At this time, many people were even more dispassionate. Isn't that Lassiter? What do you know? Why don't you know him? He's from the same department as me. He didn't show off any flashy, expensive things before. I didn't expect he was a hidden rich man. It's really Lassiter. What is he going to do today? When he was looking, he saw Lassiter running directly to Holly. That is Holly. Do they know each other? The person nearby asked. Of course. That girl was also from our department. How did she become so beautiful today? I almost didn't recognize her. A hidden rich man, a neglected beauty. What's going on in your department? It couldn't be Lassiter who wants to pursue Holly. He's the first one. Why didn't he find Holly so beautiful before? While the onlookers were shocked, Lassiter had come to Holly started to show off his family wealth. Holly, you could see that my family has a big company and the recruitment requirements were very high, but it doesn't matter if we're classmates, as long as you're willing to come. How about $5,000 a month for working for me as an internship? In Lassiter's opinion, $5,000 was quite a lot. Students who graduate from their school can find an internship job with a salary of $15 an hour. Lassiter, however, had doubled that. He must believe in Holly. Unfortunately, he still miscalculated. Holly just gave him a cold look and said, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in going to your company as an intern. You better not bother. Lassiter frowned and said, Am I not paying you enough? That's no problem. I could give you another $3,000, $8,000 a month. That's a lot of treatment. That's the same number as the department heads. The onlookers were not far away. They knew it was from their conversation. It turned out that Holly was going to work in his company. I thought there was something good to see. There was no drama of rich two representing whites, and all the onlookers said that were a little disappointed. Damn, do you have a brain? Lassiter had made it clear that he is not drunk. He had invited Holly to work. In fact, he was not seeking other people's convenience for himself. Yes, you'll get the moon first. Ah, there were not many beauty resources. The rich people have taken them away. How can we get by? Damn, $8,000 a month? I'm really willing to work for it. Only 8,000. It's nothing. That's right. No wonder Holly didn't like it. Lassiter was a little stingy. The crowd murmured. Holly also shook her head and said, No, I really don't want to work at your company. Thank you for your kindness. After listening to the discussions around him, Lassiter also felt that he might be a little stingy. Today's rich man pursues women. It's not a lot of money to spend. His money was not very good. Lassiter said with a smile, You still think it's less than it should be? I'll give you $10,000 a month. In addition, I'll take the car and send it to you. What's more, the welfare will be in accordance with the highest standard. It's not that Lassiter didn't want to give more, and it's not that he's being stingy. Just from the beginning, he was limited himself. He just wanted to coax Holly into his own company and launch the pursuit attack nearby. So it can only be said that when the pursuit begins, Lassiter will not grudge giving famous brand cosmetics, clothes, bags, and so on to Holly. Holly was upset and didn't know how to get rid of Lassiter. The car Harry sent to pick up finally arrived. June came to pick up the woman and took a Wolf Guard member as the driver. When they got to the gate of Communication University of Florida, they looked at the photos in the mobile phone and then saw Holly in the crowd. June was a little puzzled and changed to the right number. The reason for the confusion was that the person in the photo was slightly different from Holly. This picture was passed on to her by Carol at that time. Holly didn't look very beautiful when she took this picture. But today was different. Standing at the school gate almost caused a sensation. The gap can be imagined. After getting out of the car, June comes to Holly and looks at her again. Are you Holly? He asked. Yes, are you? June nodded. I'm here to pick you up. My employer is waiting for you. Come with me. Then she would take Holly away. But how can Lassiter simply let people go? Today he came to rob people. Wait, who are you? How can you just take my classmate away? Lassiter, who was still arrogant, was dull for a moment after seeing June's appearance. Let alone him, even the people around him almost lost their souls and their heart beat slowly. My God, where is this beauty from? She's definitely not from our school. I've never seen her before. Bullshit, if our school would have known. Too beautiful. How can there be such a beautiful girl? I feel that I have seen a goddess. I would dump my girlfriend. This is the perfect girlfriend in my mind. Looking at the stranger standing in front of her, June turned her head and looked at Holly. What's the matter? Well, she's my classmate, and today, I asked her to work for my company. So what do you think? Holly shook her head. I don't want to go. June turned to Lassiter and said, You hear that? She doesn't want to go. Get out of the way. Lassiter snorted. She said that if she didn't go, she won't go. It doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter if she doesn't go to my home, but I could let her go with you. Who knows who you are? Holly's my classmate. In case of danger, I couldn't watch her leave. If you want to make such a solemn remark of ordinary times, the onlookers must applaud. But this was a face for society after all. June's beautiful appearance of not eating fireworks naturally captured everyone's heart. So now no one was willing to help Lassiter. They all murmured, Is Lassiter sick? What danger can such a beautiful girl have? That's to say, I couldn't eat any more. I'm angry at myself. I'm deliberately trying to keep people from going. I thought I was a man with a sense of justice. In fact, I was very dark behind my back. Lassiter immediately felt that he was wronged to death. He really had no other purpose. He just wanted to pursue his classmate. How could he have a dark stomach? June was nothing but trifles here. She pulls Holly around Lassiter and gets into the car. The car was not Harry's, but a business car loaned from Randy's hotel. It's worth more than $1 million. It's not a luxury car. It must be inviolable to have such a car at ordinary times, but today, compared with Lassiter's Maybach, no one feels so special. And Lassiter also despises in his heart, estimating this kind of car was not a great person. After June and Holly got on the bus, she asked the driver to drive away. Looking at the car that left slowly after staring, Lassiter couldn't suppress the grievance in his heart. The sneering eyes around him made him feel very uncomfortable. After a cold hum, he sat in his car, told the driver, Keep up with that car in front. I'll see where they're going and what kind of people dare to rob her from me. It's clear that Lassiter invited Holly first. He just saw for a moment that now Harry is robbing her from him. So some people were unreasonable, but even if they were unreasonable, they still have some strength, which gives them more confidence. Lassiter was like this now. Holly refused his invitation in front of so many students. He couldn't swallow such a shameless thing. He has to go back and see who did this. If it's a cat or a dog, he has to do something today. Call the security team who was not on duty in the company. Today, sir, I want to be tough. To Lassiter's driver to then take out a phone and begin to call. June and Holly come all the way to the wharf of Florida Hotel. Because the car belongs to Florida Hotel, the driver returned it first. Seeing that she was taken to the wharf by the sea, Holly asked, Where are we going? We're going to the island in the open sea where there's the Boss Manor. If the interview is settled, you will work there in the future. With that, June turned to look at the car parked in the shade of a tree in the distance. The car was Lassiter's. After following all the way, Lassiter laughed with disdain when he sees that June they had borrowed the car from in Florida Grand Hotel. At the beginning, he was startled to see that it was the Florida Hotel. He thought it was Randy who wanted to find someone. He could not provoke Randy. But now it seems to be a misunderstanding. He doesn't even have a car. It's a rental car from the Florida Hotel. The so-called sir must be a small man with little strength. The driver answered a call, put down his cell phone, and asked, Sir, everyone is here. How can you tell me? Lassiter nodded. Okay then. Before he finished speaking, his eyes almost glared out. In the distance, June boarded a large yacht with Holly. The yacht stunned Lassiter and said, The narwhal. The super luxury, large ocean exploration yacht, worth more than most things and was unique in the world. Lassiter's family was rich, but they could not afford 1/3 of this yacht. Now, seeing Holly embarking on such a yacht, Lassiter was afraid to move. Let alone renting this kind of yacht couldn't be rented at all. In other words, even if it's borrowed, it's not an ordinary person. Who on earth, Holly? Who is she going to be tutoring? Lassiter said to himself in disbelief. The driver next to him didn't think so much. He asked, Sir, people are still waiting. The boat is about to leave. Couldn't we get on? Lassiter jumped directly. Move the people on this yacht, and we'll see the king of hell in minutes. The driver was bored and asked, Well, Lassiter said, let's go back to where everyone comes from, and then let's go back too. Then he turned around and got into the car. As soon as he sat down, he came down in a cold sweat. Lassiter was in the car looking at the air conditioning, and he couldn't stop sweating. Fortunately, he acted a little late just now. If he had found out the situation and just rushed up and robbed people, then he would be in big trouble. Lassiter relies on his family's wealth to show his prestige in front of ordinary people. But in front of the owner of a super yacht like Narwhal, he couldn't even match a dog. He could only be regarded as a mole ant. After wiping away the cold sweat left on his head, Lassiter quietly rolls back with people and no longer dares to hit Holly's attention. Now, Holly was climbing onto the high branch, and the position was like flying to the sky directly by rockets. He didn't dare to have any wrong ideas. On the Narwhal, Holly's road to shock will not go. Her parents are running a small decoration company. The money is a little bit, but even her home was less than 1,000th, let alone of Harry's yacht. How could she have thought that there was such a luxurious boat in the world? It's amazing that a normal yacht was 20 or 30 meters long. Most people couldn't reach it. And now she stepped on the ship nearly 200 meters? Holly thinks that she should not be called on a yacht, but a cruise ship. Although she thought that people who want to be tutored should be rich, she didn't expect people to be that rich. Holly couldn't help but be curious about Mr. Parker, who was looking for a tutor. She wants to see him as soon as possible and see what kind of person he is. But when she thought of just getting on the boat, June said that she could work on the island outside in the future, and her heart was a little tingled. Well, Miss June, if I succeed in the interview, do I really want to stay on the island? June said, Don't call me that. Just call me June. Sir has been living there recently, so you have to work there. What's the matter? Holly said, Well, the problem is that it's too far away. Well, how can I go back to school? June asked, I heard that you were going to have summer vacation soon. Yes, but it's going to take a while. I have to take the exam before the holiday. Otherwise, I won't get any credit. June laughed. It's not a problem. It's very simple. Just tell me when you need to come back, and if you're not in a hurry, you can come back by boat. If you're in a hurry, you could take the helicopter. Okay. Holly was startled. She didn't expect that she would go back to school in such a big battle. She was in a yacht, and she can use a helicopter. However, she thought that it was very common for June to think that other people had so much money. In view of this, Holly no longer tingled, put down her mind, and waited for the narwhal to sail to its destination. On their way to the island, in the manner of Allen Island, Harry and Juniper were riding a horse. Riding in the green forest, the breeze comes slowly, listening to Juniper's innocent laughter, which makes Harry feel a little less depressed. It's not that he took advantage of it, but it also affected himself. He really did not know how to face them in the future. Harry was an emotional person. Cammy and Jessica were both employees of his and had a good relationship with each other. But now they have a relationship. They're not used to it. Fortunately, the three girls also felt embarrassed together, and the next day they all went back to filming. Harry was out of sight and out of mind. He was too lazy to think about these troubles.
Brother, you seem to be in a bad mood these 2 days. Is there something wrong with you? Would you like to tell me?
Juniper asked. Harry said with a smile, You're good at observing words and colors. It's an adult trouble. You don't understand. You'll never understand until you grow up. Juniper turned around and made a grimace, humming.
I'm not a child.
Since she was discharged from the hospital, She's been more and more intimate with Harry since they lived together. She used to call Harry, but now she calls him Harry directly and intimately. I don't know, it's probably like a brother and sister thing. Juniper, the teacher I asked for you is due to arrive in any moment now. You need to be obedient and study hard. Do you know that?
Oh, come today?
Juniper was an outsider. Children still like to play. In Harry's manner, it's just like heaven. They can play whatever they want. Unfortunately, they have not been happy for 2 days, and they were about to start a boring study life. During this period of time, I'll review the lessons you're going to be learning from the teacher, and I will arrange for you to go to school after the summer vacation, Harry said again.
Well, do I have to live outside after I go to school?
Juniper asked. Harry laughed. How can I how can I let you live outside?
That's good.
When they talked, June called. Sir, Teacher Holly is here. Ah, very good. I'm taking Juniper out to ride a horse now. Please ask someone to wait for her while I go back immediately.
Yes.
After June and Holly arrived at Allen Island, Holly was in a dull state. Did not expect that there was a private island on the sea outside of Florida, and the whole island was beautiful, just like a fairy island. Especially under the leadership of June, she went through the osmanthus forest and came to the front of the manor. The jade-carved facade was shining in the sunlight, which makes Holly's eyes straight. That's, this is where I'm going to work? Holly asked in disbelief. June nodded. If Sir approves of you, you'll work here during the summer vacation, yes. My God, I didn't even know there was such a beautiful manor. Holly couldn't stop exclaiming wherever she went. She didn't expect that there would be such a luxurious building in this world. It didn't look like it's for people to live in, just an immortal cave. When they entered the manor, all kinds of luxurious decorations made Holly busy. Because of Harry's absence, June arranged for her to sit on the sofa in the living room for tea. Holly was a girl of insight, but now she feels guilty. She's afraid to sit down because she's afraid of breaking the sofa. After settling down and waiting for a few minutes, Holly sees a handsome young man with a little girl riding on a tall horse with flaming hair through the large French window in the living room. The scene in front of her suddenly makes Holly feel a little familiar. It took her a long time to realize that this was a scene in her imagination. Holly's face turned red at the thought. Harry turned over and dismounted, then took Juniper down, handed the reins to the wolf guard, and went directly into the manor. After seeing Holly in the living room, he also gave a little pause. Harry has also seen the photos given by Carol before. This was a big gap between the people above and now. The main reason was a difference in the dress and temperament. In order to come to the interview today, Holly especially dressed herself up a lot, reflecting the solemn feeling of the teacher. Compared with the former seemingly casual housemaid state, it has changed a lot. So it's reasonable for Harry or others to be surprised. However, no matter how solemn she was, Holly was only a girl of 18 or 19. Now, Harry appears and walks directly towards her. Somehow, Holly feels her heart beating violently. Hello, you're Holly. I'm Harry. Oh, hello, Mr. Parker. I'm Holly, Carol's classmate. They exchanged greetings, and Harry motioned to take a seat. This is my sister, Juniper. She's going to be your student. How are you, Holly? Juniper said hello politely. Hello, Juniper. Harry said, I heard Carol say that you're a very talented woman. You're not only proficient in arts and science, but also know all kinds of musical instruments and paintings. In the face of Harry's praise, Holly's face was redder. No, it's a little more involved, not as exaggerated as Carol says. Oh, don't be so modest. I prefer you to be versatile. Juniper needs more attention. In future courses, I hope that, in addition to the normal cultural courses, you can also teach her some musical instruments and paintings that you're proficient in. Oh, that's no problem. Holly nodded in front of Harry. She felt inexplicably nervous. She always felt that what she said was not very good. She felt restless. Of course, Holly, you're not too nervous. There are no outsiders here. I don't want you to teach Juniper as well as others. Oh, yes. Holly was silent for now. When the summer vacation is over, Juniper should go to school normally. By that time, your work can come to an end. Of course, if you can, in fact, I hope you can continue to coach Juniper in her spare time, but that's all in the future, Harry said with a smile. Holly didn't expect that this job would continue, but it's the same as what Harry said. It's all in the future. After all, the work hasn't even started yet. It's hard to say whether they can adapt to the work here and whether she can get along with Juniper, but as far as Holly was concerned, she really wants to stay here for a long time. But it's because Harry's manor on Allen Island was so attractive. Holly was also a young literary girl, after all. She likes this kind of seclusion most. Harry's manor undoubtedly satisfies her fantasy. Far away from the hustle and bustle of the city, quiet and beautiful, unique scenery, it was a perfect peach blossom land. Mr. Parker, if I do well, can I really continue to teach here? Of course, I can trust the person recommended by Carol. Besides this relationship, I can also trust you, so you're not too much of an outsider. Thank you so much. Harry had already sent someone to investigate Holly's situation yesterday, and he was very satisfied with the tutor as a whole. Her family background was simple, her social relationship also very simple, and the character is relatively good, and the popularity in school is very good. Her parents recently encountered a little trouble, but this was a small matter. Does not affect Harry to hire Holly to work. It's time for us to talk about the treatment. Do you have any requests? Harry asked. Holly was a little dull now. How can she have any specific requirements? After listening to Harry's question, she just shakes her head and said nothing. Harry said with a smile, otherwise, during the summer vacation, you could teach Juniper all day. You can decide the specific courses by yourself. I'll give you a salary of $30,000 per month. Besides, you can arrange the food and accommodations here. Do you think it's okay? Before she came here, she thought it would be very high to be a tutor for $200 a day at most. Who would have thought that Harry would pay a monthly salary of $30,000 and manage food and housing? In such a luxurious manner, can food and living be worse? It's not about work, it's about enjoyment. Teacher Holly, do you think there is any problem? Before the meeting, the person was in a daze. Harry thought that she was not satisfied with the conditions he put forward and asked again. Holly shakes her head, almost shaking it into a rattle. No, I just feel that the treatment is a little high. A little guilty, she asked. Harry looks at June and laughs. Now Harry's family property was so much that he couldn't count it clearly. Money was really meaningless to him. He didn't think that this monthly salary of $30,000 was very high. At ordinary times, Harry buys things casually and spends more than that. Harry thinks that he just got to know someone. If she gets too much treatment, it's like giving. So after thinking about it, he thought $30,000 was more appropriate. Who knows? Holly was still scared. Since there's no problem, it's settled, Harry said, looking at the time. He added, it's already noon. Teacher Holly is here for the first time today. I should treat her to have some lunch in the manor at noon. Holly wants to be polite, but the problem was that she was on the island now. Even if she wants to leave, she couldn't leave without nodding her head. What's more, Harry hasn't said when to start work. Just listening to Harry's greeting, the party came to the kitchen. There were several kitchens in the manor, one of which was the Western Palace style, with a long square table on both sides for more than 30 people. Another was the Oriental style, 5 meters in diameter round table can also accommodate 20 or 30 people. However, there were fewer people today, so it seems too cold to eat in these two places. Harry has arranged in the lake pavilion outside the manor. Small bridge water winding path. View the court side was the dense bamboo forest. One side can see the sparkling blue lake. It was very enjoyable. In such an environment, to enjoy food, people's appetite will increase by 3 points. After a few people sat down, June arranged for the servants in the manor to serve. These servants were all Randy's. Seeing that there was few people in Harry's, it was inconvenient to live here. So before the party, they temporarily transferred some staff from their hotel. Harry didn't plan to take long. He had sent people back after the party, but June suggested that they stay a few more days considering that the manor had just moved in. When they have time to go and recruit some more suitable people. After all, it's not suitable to use Randy's servant all the time. In order to entertain the new teacher, Harry specially prepared some high-end food to show his sincerity. With the servants coming to the table one after another, Holly almost couldn't close her eyes. All the dishes in this exquisite porcelain plate were exquisite and incomparable. They were all full of color and fragrance and top-grade ingredients. Ordinary people don't know whether they have eaten it or not, even if they haven't seen it. These were the works of the top chefs from Florida Hotel. Generally speaking, you have to make an appointment to order these dishes. It would take 3 or 4 months or even half a year to enjoy it. And here in Harry's house, you can eat whatever you want. You can order people to do it anytime and anywhere. This was the gap between the top rich and the average rich. The resources they can enjoy are very different. Of course, Harry usually did not ask to eat so carefully, that is, the usual food is more exquisite than the outside. Even more often, they eat popular fast food. How convenient and how to come. Had it not been for Holly's appointment today, Harry would not have to be so grand. Teacher Holly, if you have nothing to do in the afternoon, I don't think you need to go back first. How about going to work directly? Harry asked. Oh, I have no problem, but if I have to live here in the future, I do have to go back to my dormitory in the evening to bring some clothes and daily necessities. No problem. I'll arrange the helicopter transportation at that time. I heard that you need to finish the final exam before summer vacation. Before that, if you need to run back and forth, you can use my helicopter as a means of transportation. Anyway, I don't need it very much at ordinary times. Holly didn't know what to say. It's a yacht and a helicopter. The scenes are just bigger and bigger every time. Up to now, she still felt that she was still in a dream. This short half day, there was some kind of Alice in Wonderland lost feeling, very dreamy and not real at all. After getting familiar with Juniper in the afternoon and getting to know her knowledge, Holly was sent back to school by Harry's helicopter. Her brain was still confused. Harry's helicopter landed directly on the playground of Communication University in Florida. Helicopters were common, but it was still a new thing to use private helicopters as vehicles to land directly in schools. When the helicopter landed, Holly came down. All the students who played football ran and were shocked. Whose helicopter landed directly in the school? This was a man of a rich family who directly uses airplanes to pick up girls. It's more powerful than those sports cars. That's right, it's so powerful. Can it be more powerful? The girl you see, isn't that Holly? It's true that she was picked up this morning and now she came back by helicopter. This was a man of a rich family. I heard that she went to apply to be a tutor. What's the treatment for a tutor? Why didn't I know? This is not to be a tutor, to be a young mother in a rich family. That's the treatment. After getting off the plane, Holly ignores the comments around her, lowers her head, and runs back to her dormitory through the playground. The dormitory she lived in at school was a doable room, and the one who lived with her was Carol. In the past, Holly's family had good conditions, so she could afford to live in such a high-priced dormitory. But now there was something wrong with her family's business if there was no improvement. After this semester, Holly will have to move to a much cheaper room for 4. But fortunately, with this high-salary part-time job that Harry gives, she didn't have to worry about the problem of funds, and she didn't need to pay for the tuition next semester. Holly was not against those low-grade 4-bedroom, just reluctant to live separately with Carol. After 2 years in school, the relationship between the two people were very close. It's hard for Holly to accept that if they abruptly separated and have to go live with unfamiliar people again. And Carol here, although the Livingston family conditions were not better than Holly's, she has a rich boyfriend. In the beginning, Harvey was going to buy a house outside to let Carol live in. It was convenient for them to be together. But Carol didn't want to leave campus life during school, so she refused. So with these circumstances, the two of them lived in the same bedroom. Holly pushes open the bedroom door and finds Carol there. Unexpectedly, she asks, "Are you back? I thought you had to keep taking care of your boyfriend." Carol said, "I thought so too, but Harvey has strong self-esteem. He didn't want to show me his fragile side, so now he can act on his own and send me back. I envy you too. Harvey is such a rich man, but he treats you wholeheartedly." Carol said with a smile, "What's the matter? You were much better than me, and the object you will find in the future will not be bad." "I'm Merly. I don't even see a shadow." Carol blinked. Seeing that Holly was a little out of her mind, she asked, "What's it like to go to the interview today? Were you scared?" At this point, Holly was a little angry. "It's more than a shock. You didn't even make it clear so that I can have a psychological preparation. I almost lost face in front of others." "I don't want to give you a surprise. In fact, I went there for the first time the day before yesterday. When I just set foot on the island, I was scared. It's just like a fairyland in the world. I couldn't bear to leave." "Yes, I don't know how much it cost to build it, but it's perfect. It's said to be like over hundreds of millions of dollars." Carol recalls what Harvey said. Holly sat down on the bed and exclaimed, "Millions of dollars?" "More than that, it's just the cost of construction and some materials, not including the jade." "My God, where am I going to work?" Holly only exclaimed. Just then, her cell phone rang. Holly looked down at the caller ID. It's her mother. Hello, Mom. Is everything all right? Why are you calling me so late?
It's nothing. I just want to ask you whether the living expenses your father gave you last month are enough. If not, I'll transfer more to you.
Holly quickly refused. No, Mom. There's still a lot of things I haven't used up.
You child, if you have no money, you could tell your family that there is something wrong with our company's business. It's not enough to give you tuition and living expenses. If you were short of money, you need it from your family. Don't suffer outside.
All parents in the world who don't care for their children were the best for them, even if they were suffering. After listening to her mother's words, Holly's tears came down her face. Mom, I really don't need it. Just keep all the money at home. I just got a job as a tutor with a monthly salary of $30,000. Not to mention that it was okay. Holly's mother was so scared that her mobile phone almost fell.
What? What? Girl, don't let people cheat you. How can you get such a high salary as a tutor?
It's true. People have a lot of money. I'm going to be the new tutor. In the beginning, I didn't believe it. And then today I went to the interview and now it's true.
Impossible. No matter how rich you are, you couldn't afford so much money. It must be a lie.
Oh, I'm not a liar or a stranger. I'm a friend of Carol's boyfriend. I couldn't explain it to you clearly. Let Carol tell you about it. Holly helplessly hands her cell phone to Carol and asks her to explain. Carol took the phone and said, Auntie, you can rest assured. I'm familiar with Mr. Parker, and he's very nice. He won't cheat on Holly, and she won't be wronged. The class is in a big manor, and the food and accommodations are the best. She won't withstand the pain. Holly's mother didn't even know how to listen. After Carol's explanation, she didn't worry about her extra salary and whether her daughter will be cheated. Instead, she asked Carol about Harry's situation.
Well, Carol, what's the status of Mr. Parker and what's the situation of his family? Do you want to ask Holly to be a tutor under the guise of work? That's to pursue Holly.
Holly immediately grabbed the mobile phone and said, Mom, where do you want to go? It's just a simple job. You ask people what's going on. That's it. I'm going to hang up the phone now. Then she really hung up the phone. Looking at her best friend in a dilemma, Carol smiles back and forth. My auntie just thought it was Mr. Parker who wanted to pursue you. How funny. Holly's face was red and bleeding. Since she went to the university, her mother couldn't do without Holly, even if she fell in love and looking for a boyfriend every time she calls. Today was even more outrageous. Simply to do what the tutor can associate with love above was also convinced. After laughing for a long time, Carol said with a straight face, but seriously, if you really want to develop with Mr. Parker, it's not impossible. It's totally possible with your conditions. Maybe it's a ghost. I just met someone today. Don't think too much about it, okay? Oh, listen to you. It's hard to say this just now. It's possible to get familiar with it later. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Seeing that Holly was really angry, Carol resumed her seriousness and said, I was joking with that just now. Don't take it seriously, but Mr. Parker has a really good character. He didn't have the bad habits of the rich man. He's just... Seeing Carol's desire to talk and stop, Holly's curiosity came up. But what? Why are you talking so haltingly? She asked. Well, they don't have many people in the manor today, so I don't know. But there are many women around Mr. Parker, and they were much more beautiful than us. Really? I saw June, who had been serving him all the time. She was really beautiful. I was a little confident in my appearance, but I didn't have any confidence next to her. Holly sighed. Women were always very concerned about appearance, especially when they see more beautiful women than themselves. They either envy or suffer a blow. June, let me tell you, there were still 3 beautiful women Mr. Parker who was with at the same level as June. Believe it or not, there are still a few, but there are more than 10 who are better than us. Holly received too much shock today. Now she feels numb after listening to Carol's words. Oh, there's so many. Isn't Mr. Parker a playboy? You said he was good. No, those girls really like Mr. Parker, but Mr. Parker is still very serious about his feelings, but there are more girls, and they're all secretly competing for favors. The day before yesterday, Carol almost exposed Harry's calculation. Fortunately, Holly was also her best friend, even though there was no outsider here. But when it comes to Harry's privacy, she dares not to say too much. Besides, Holly went to Harry to be a tutor and not to do anything else. It's useless to say that. Why do you say half a word? Carol waved her hand. Nothing. These things have little to do with you. You may know later. I remind you that there are too many girls around Mr. Parker. If you just want to be a tutor, it's nothing. If you have other thoughts, you have to put others on your shoes. I'm just going to be a tutor. I'm not qualified to intervene in other things. Besides, there's so many beautiful women around Mr. Parker. What qualifications do I have to get involved in? Well, in a word, I'll give you a short in advance. It's nothing to do with I'm facing Mr. Parker over there. If he deals with other girls, you still have to be defensive. Carol said seriously. What happened the day before yesterday really overturned her cognition. She didn't expect that there'd be such fun in this competition. Although it was Harry who got cheap, it was calculated in the final analysis. From the small pier also seen, Harry around those girls cannot look so peaceful. On the surface, it looked peaceful, but then in the dark was not so simple. Now that her best friend was going to teach Juniper, Carol was afraid that her simple-minded best friend will suffer some losses. Speaking of simplicity, Holly was better than Carol. Carol seems to be weak in character, but she didn't need others to think less. Holly was not stupid. She was smart, but her whole mind was on the musical instruments and paintings she was interested in. She's relatively weak in terms of social skills. If you mix with Celeste and Tammy, who are more intelligent than goblins, you'll have to pay for them if they're sold. Juniper, I've contacted Teacher Holly in the afternoon. What do you think? Well, Teacher Holly is really powerful. She speaks kindly and has a lot of knowledge. She can also play the piano, sing, dance, and draw pictures. Juniper exclaimed. Yeah, it's really powerful. Harry sighed with a smile. In the afternoon, because Holly was a little nervous, Harry gave her a space to be familiar with Juniper alone. He continued to take June to train the Red Rabbit horse. Since receiving the special gift, under the training of June, the temperament of the Red Rabbit horse was not so strong. Maybe it's because of the changing the environment that makes the horse satisfied. Harry has no temper here. Not to mention June, even Juniper can ride a jog. Harry likes animals better. He has such a real horse. Now he has time to get familiar with each other and cultivate his feelings. After seeing Holly off, he called Juniper to inquire about her feelings. Because it's the first day, it's not a formal start. In the afternoon, Holly just got to know Juniper and mastered the knowledge of that stage. And by the way, she gave a little light. Whether it was singing, dancing, playing the piano, or painting, Juniper had to kneel down to worship her teacher. Brother, it seems that I have a very versatile teacher with Holly. I really admire her. Juniper longed to say. Harry said with a smile, it's very simple. Everyone has been invited. If you study hard with the teacher, you'll become the same sooner or later. Maybe you can be more powerful than Holly. Well, I won't let my brother down. I'll study hard in the future. I'll learn what Teacher Holly knows. I'm very smart. I can learn everything as soon as I learn. This afternoon, Teacher Holly praised me. Well, is that right? Well, I said you are a smart and sensible child, Harry praised. Then he asked June, let's start teaching tomorrow. Let's arrange a room for the teacher in advance and give all the teaching materials and tools that she'll need. If you need anything else, you can buy it back earlier. Yes, sir. It's been a week since she worked as a tutor in Harry's manor. Holly has been cautious and nervous at the beginning, and now she has gradually adapted to it. Indeed, as Carol said, Harry's temperament was really good, without the bad habits of the rich man. He was also good at taking care of people. During her few days there, Holly was very concerned about any inconveniences in her life. In her spare time, Holly often chats with June. She also found that although June, the bodyguard of Harry, usually looks cold, she was actually a very warm-hearted person with a standard cold face and a warm heart. For Harry's life experience, Holly has made it clear that it's a rich and noble son who has such frightening wealth. At first, Holly thought that Harry and Juniper were brothers and sisters. Although they had different surnames, Holly thought that maybe it was because of some illegitimate son or something. After a few days in June's chat, it turns out that they were not related by blood. Juniper was an orphan rescued by Harry. Can wholeheartedly take care of a child who has no blood relationship so well? Also, can see that Harry's heart was actually an excellent person. Holly was more and more fond of Harry. But every time she faces Harry, Holly unconsciously remembers that her mother misunderstands that Harry was the one she was looking for. Therefore, as soon as Harry talks to her, Holly immediately turns red in the face. During this period of time, the disaster relief operations in Washington have been basically over. George and his men also returned to Florida. The jade that Harry gave to Sean Livingston before was to reward the people who contributed most to the disaster relief. To Harry's surprise, Kiss Holiday got it. That Kiss Holiday was not so kind as to sincerely help the people in the disaster area because she wants to get this jade too much and she was very short of money recently. Then she tried her best to help. Finally, after evaluation, she made the most effort, so she became the winner of the Jade Cabbage. However, Kiss Holiday's ultimate goal was not for this jade, but for money. Sean Livingston didn't want to give up the top jade either. After some discussion, he spent $500 million to buy back the jade. It's not that Kiss Holiday didn't want to sell the jade at a higher price, but that Sean Livingston originally took the jade. Although the appraisal was more than $1 billion, she was not really stupid enough to let Sean Livingston buy it back at that price. Because Sean Livingston was at the top of his pyramid in the entertainment circle, it's too late for Kiss Holiday to flatter him. In this way, both sides were happy. Sean Livingston contributed money to help Washington through the disaster, and the jade finally returned to his hands. Those people in the entertainment circle got a better reputation for disaster relief. After George returned to Florida, he first came to report to Harry. Looking at the dusty party, Harry said, "That's hard. You'll have to rest after coming back." "Sir, it's okay. We don't feel tired at all," George said with a silly smile. "Nonsense. You've been in Washington for a long time. How could you not be tired? When it's time to rest, you rest," Harry said. "Yes." Harry looked at Juniper, who was staying by his side, and said, "Juniper, you go out to play first. I have something to talk with George about."
Oh, goody.
When Juniper left, Harry asked, "Have all the remains of the child's relatives been settled?" After Harry rescued Juniper, her parents were still buried in the ruins. In consideration of the safety of the land, Harry specially ordered George to deal with the matter first when he sent them there. After arriving in Washington, George went to Quick River town for the first time to find the ruins of Juniper's family, and found the remains of her parents, and then found the land to bury them. Harry was considering that now that Juniper had lost her memory, he should not tell her the truth first. In any case, it's too cruel to let her suffer. If Juniper's memory can be restored one day, there will be a cemetery for her dead parents. George said, "Yes, sir, they're all settled. It's Mr. Sean Livingston who helped to settle them in the best cemetery." Harry nodded. "That's good. If you dare have anything else, just go back." "Yes, I'm leaving." As soon as George left, Juniper, who had been sent out to play by Harry, ran back.
Brother, shall we go fishing on the sea?
During her time on the island, Juniper completely let go of her nature. Because Harry can provide whatever he wanted here, for a child, it's 1,000 times more fun than an amusement park. The tutoring went back to their schools to take exams, so there was no boring studying time. Juniper was so happy that she changed her ways to play all day. Now she doesn't know where to begin. She had to pull Harry to go fishing. After thinking about it, Harry found that he had nothing to do today, so he said with a smile, "Okay, I'll take you to have fun before your teacher Holly comes back."
Yay, great. I'll get ready.
Juniper jumped a few steps and disappeared. Harry shook his head helplessly and said to June, "Go and prepare a boat and bring fishing tackle."
Yes, sir.
Although there is the narwhal yacht, fishing at sea was not worth using such a big boat. After preparing a boat for 3 people and bringing the fishing equipment, Harry and June took Juniper out to sea. The drive out to sea area of Allen Island and bypassed the reclamation area near Moon Island, 3 people came to the west of Moon Island to develop a special area for sea fishing. This was under the jurisdiction of Harry's company, Moon Island Development Company. Because the tourism resources of Moon Island have been publicized, there have been endless streams of tourists recently. And here was not limited to playing the upper reaches of the island to enjoy the natural scenery. All kinds of entertainment in the sea was also very comprehensive. Because the surrounding ecological environment of Moon Island was good, a large number of coastal organisms live here, so it was an excellent place for sea fishing. In addition to the cooperation signed with Calico's family, Harry's company has a large number of yachts for tourists to rent. There was a wide range of yachts, including high, middle, and low-end yachts. Even a pure wooden windsurfing yacht was available for group play and to experience the feeling of sailing in ancient times. After an hour's voyage from Allen Island, Harry arrived at the sea fishing area. This was Garrett's tourist season. Not only Florida was full of tourists, but all of Moon Island was full of tourists. The fishing area was no exception. Most of the people who came here had high incomes and can afford to rent yachts. There was also many driving their own yachts over for this kind of customer. The management department of Harry's company only charged a certain site fee. As for what tourists fished in certain areas, it's owned by the tourists themselves. After arriving at the sea, if you look around, you could see no less than dozens of yachts, which was still within the visual range. The exclusive sea area of Moon Island was very large, extending from the coast to the sea level. Such a large area belongs to Harry. For those who come here to play, Harry can earn millions of dollars just by renting the yacht and using the site every day. Oh, there's so many people here today. Harry was wearing a cap, a short sleeve t shirt, and big underpants, and dressed casually. June, on the other hand, was wearing a tight sportswear, which does not affect her activities. The close fitting clothes also make her look energetic. Juniper wore a white dress with cartoon bears on her head and a wide brimmed straw hat and pink sandals on her feet. Looking for an undisturbed sea area, Harry stopped the boat, took out the fishing tackle, and 3 people separated. Harry didn't know much about the technique of sea fishing, but he didn't really want to catch anything. He just came out to have fun. As for the harvest or not, it didn't matter. Therefore, Harry and June were very casual. Juniper was different. Children were always serious about what they were interested in. After putting down the bait and throwing out the hook, she waited earnestly. It's just that fishing was a quiet entertainment. You couldn't play without patience. Before Juniper came here, she was in high spirits and could bear it at first. The problem was that after nearly half an hour, there was no movement in the float, and the child couldn't sit still.
Brother, there's no fish here. Why don't you take the bait?
Juniper said. Harry said with a smile, "Of course, there are tons of fish, but fishing requires patience."
But it's been a long time and I haven't caught any fish. It's so boring.
Why don't we go to the seaside playground? There's a lot of fun there, Harry suggested. Now that she was bored, Harry wants to take her to the amusement park on the coast of Moon Island. After a period of construction, it had taken shape and was open to tourists. The whole was a large playground, a large number of small entertainment facilities. It's much more fun than Disneyland, and it's even bigger. Mr. Cross was now in charge of everything there. As an internal affairs type talent, he runs very well. Considering the children like to be lively, Harry suggested going there to play. Juniper has been staying on Allen Island for a long time, and although she has a lot of fun there are very few people, so she seems to be much lonelier. But Juniper had a stubborn temper at the time.
No, I'm here to fish today. I have to get something. I'll never stop until I get it.
Harry laughs. I didn't expect that Juniper was very serious. Okay, let's continue fishing. Just finished, Juniper screamed excitedly. Her float was floating up and down violently. It was obvious that some fish had taken the bait.
Brother, it's heavy with fish.
Juniper dragged the fishing rod. Don't hurry to pull. Pay off the line and wait until the fish has no strength to take in the line. The fish was obviously not small, and the boat with the fishing line and the sails started to move. Oh, it's really a big fish. You're lucky, Juniper, Harry exclaimed. The fish on the hook was struggling frantically at this time. Not only was the boat towing, with Harry running everywhere, but also it jumped out of the water from time to time, bringing a huge spray. Although the fishing line was a little long, Harry could see that the fish was estimated to be more than 1 meter long. The battle of hunting and escaping between the mermaids lasted for 20 minutes and finally ended after the fish was exhausted. Juniper was young, and of course she didn't have much strength. She couldn't pull back the strength at all. Harry and June pulled the fish together. As soon as it was pulled into the cabin, the whole boat shook violently for several times and the waterline dropped a lot. They could see how big and heavy the fish was. Crouching truff, golden line emperor fish. Wow, you're really lucky to catch such a big one. When Harry was pressing the fish to preventing it from jumping back into the sea, an exclamation came from the side. It turned out that just before they knew it, Harry's boat was dragged all the way to the side of another yacht at sea. There were several men and women sitting on the yacht. The people on the boat looked like young models. Just now, Harry pulled the fish onto the boat. A group of people were watching. The young models have very little knowledge. They don't know what kind of fish Harry caught. They just thought that they would grow very big and look spectacular, and the men on the yacht should be the rich men who came out to play. They had more knowledge. This fish on Harry's boat was indeed a kind of golden emperor fish. It was a delicacy. Generally speaking, it was only provided by the top hotels. And not often, if you want to eat, You have to make an appointment first. The dishes made of golden emperor fish were usually several pieces on a plate, and the price of a plate ranges from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. It was the most luxurious dish. A thin piece of meat was almost transparent, but it was several times more expensive than gold. So ordinary people couldn't see it, and the rich people were not so easy to enjoy it, unless they were the top rich. Then they can afford the top food. Seeing that Harry had caught such a large golden emperor fish, several men on the yacht immediately became red-eyed. Such a big live fish, the price was about 10 million. For these rich men, the highest value of this fish was not money, but the fish itself. This was the best gift for dealing with the powerful. With such a top-level food, the emperor fish can do a lot of things in the hands of these rich men. Especially when it comes to business, it's no harm to serve such a dish. When Harry took out the hook from the fish's mouth, several men looked at each other on the yacht. They whispered, "The opportunity is rare. We're lucky today." "Yes, I don't think the people on the opposite ship know the goods. We can buy them at any price." "Well, it's not a big deal to drive such a small boat. It's cheap to give a high price estimate." After several people's discussions, they said to Harry, "Brother, I think your boat is too small. It's not safe to carry such a big fish. If you can't reach to the shore, the fish will have to jump back into sea." "That's right. You still have two beautiful girls on board. You couldn't let them be in danger." June also wore a cap to cover half of her face. These men didn't see her beauty clearly. But even from her figure and smooth chin, they could tell that June was a beautiful woman. Another, Juniper not to mention, was a pretty girl, although she was young. Harry said with a smile, "Good intentions. I'll deal with it. Don't worry." Several men saw that Harry didn't recognize the meaning, looked at each other, and said it directly. "Brother, do you think we could do this? We've been playing here, and we haven't caught any fish. Why don't you make a price and sell this fish to us, okay?" "Yeah, let's make a price. We have to show off some harvest when we come out." Harry looked at Juniper and asked, "You caught the fish. Do you want to sell it?" Juniper didn't know about these things, but she's not ready to sell them. The first time she went out fishing, she caught such a big one. It was her own work. How could she sell it? Then she shook her head to Harry and said, "Don't sell it." "Well, then we won't sell it." Harry refused with a smile. The men laughed, and one of them said, "Well, $100,000. The fish belongs to us. What do you think?" The man nearby said, $100,000? Well, that's a small amount. We're willing to pay it for only when we see that the fish is big and beautiful. If you want to go back to shore and sell it, you will earn $10,000. As soon as the price of $100,000 was called out, it immediately aroused the cry of those young models on the yacht. This was really not a small number. These girls, accompanying the few rich men out to play, tried to serve. One day can earn $10,000, even if the rich men had a conscience. Because there was no charging standard in their business, how much service fee can they earn depends on the mood of the rich man. If they serve them well, they can get more than $3,000 or $2,000. If they were generous, they can give $10,000 or $20,000. When they catch up with a little bit of a back, they'll encounter a person with a bad temper. How to serve was not satisfactory, but also likely to suffer from torture, not a penny to earn in vain. Therefore, Harry can earn $100,000 by catching a fish. These young models were very keen. They work hard for 10 days and a half month, and they couldn't earn so much. They catch a fish easily, which makes people feel unfair. "Sir, this fish was a golden line emperor fish. It's very valuable. The price is more than $100,000. These men want to cheat you." June whispered to Harry. Harry said with a smile, "I know. They're playing me as if I don't know what to do." Several second-generation rich men on the yacht knew the fish. As the successor of the Parker family and the world's top family, how could Harry not know? Therefore, he just laughs at the $100,000, not to mention that he was not ready to sell it. Even if he wanted to sell it, can he care about the money? "Hey, what's the matter with you? Don't you want to sell it or not?" That's to say, don't think we're stupid and you have a lot of money. It's not enough for you to give $100,000. Don't be greedy. Several people saw that Harry didn't answer, but they thought that they needed to raise the price. Who knows? Harry unexpectedly shook his head. "I will not sell this fish." "Not for sale?" "It's $100,000 and you don't sell it? Are you stupid not to make money?" A group of young models on the yacht said in surprise. It's hard for them to imagine that Harry didn't even care about $100,000. Was there anyone in the world who didn't love money? If so, he must be a fool. Well, it seems that you really think that money was less. I'll give you another 50,000 or 150,000. That's a lot. Don't push your luck. The man came out again. All of a sudden, the prize rose to $150,000, which almost scared the young models leaning on the railing of the yacht out of the sea. Just now, it was $100,000. In the blink of an eye, it turned into $150,000. Hello, handsome man. You are stupid. You're going to sell it for $100,000. Don't you want to keep it for home to make some salted fish? 150,000 is enough to buy a family car. Don't be silly. The fish will stink soon after you keep it. You couldn't sell it if you wanted to. They're very generous. If you don't sell it, you'll regret it later. Brother, give me the face and sell it to me. Suddenly, a group of people on the yacht began to coax Harry to sell fish. But Harry was not moved at all. $150,000 was just a small pocket money for him, not even enough. He sneered and said, "Don't worry about it. If I don't want to sell the fish, I will not sell it. June, start the engine and let's go." All right. June turned to the stern of the boat and started the engine. The man on the other yacht yelled, "Wait, brother, you really were not going to sell it? You have to think about it. We have to buy this fish today. If you don't give us space, we'll be offended." This was about to turn over. How could Harry be scared by these rotten fish and shrimps? He said in a cold voice, "Your face is very valuable. You really don't think I know about this fish? I'm not angry with you playing me like a fool. You're welcome first. Rubbish." This boy is pretending to be confused all the time. You think you're so special? You're just pretending? Several people realized that Harry was not deceived at all. He knew the value of the fish very well. "Okay, don't give us face. Don't blame us for being rude. If you don't give us fish today, you won't think you'll go ashore." Harry's indifferent, scornful smile. "That I pour to see if you have this ability? Heh, well, I don't cry when I don't see the coffin." These men on the yacht, now they couldn't buy Harry's fish, so they have to make up their minds to rob them. They were not greedy for how much the fish can be sold, but the rare top food was too precious. And such a big one was enough for them. When something happens, it better be taken back and sent out as a heavy gift than anything else. Unfortunately, Harry here was hard and soft, let alone cold, even in the face of their threat was still unshakable. "Hey, handsome man, don't be silly anymore. Just sell the fish to Sheldon. They're all very powerful. You don't want to make them angry." On the yacht, there were several young models who were kind-hearted. Looking at Harry's handsome appearance, they couldn't bear to be bullied. Because Sheldon, the man of rich people, was not a good-tempered person, it's good to bid just now. Now, Harry didn't accept it. It's open. Harry couldn't stop it. These young models have also served these rich men for several days. They were used to being bullied by them. They were just lawless. The key was that the people who were bullied have no reason to deal with them. If ordinary people want to have trouble with these men, they just dream. The resources they have are very different. The man of rich people just throws out some money and countless people work for them. What can ordinary people have? They can only bear to be bullied. Harry today, out of the two low-key, whether it was riding in the boat or wearing above, people were misunderstood as ordinary people. Therefore, no one thinks that the rich man, Sheldon, will not be able to deal with Harry. But facing the threat, Harry was still light and flustered. He said with a smile, "Thank you for your attention. I really don't pay attention to these stinky fish and rotten shrimp." Sheldon was used to being praised and respected by everyone. Now he was despised by Harry, and he called them rotten fish and shrimps. His temper immediately came up, roaring. "You really don't know how to write dead words. Originally, I wanted to make a fair deal with you. Since you are so shameless, don't blame us for being impolite." Harry said with disdain, "You're welcome. Why are you so rude? Do you guys still want to fight with me?" There were only 3 men on this so-called Sheldon yacht, and the others were pretty girls. That's why Harry laughed with indifference. In the face of Harry's provocation, Sheldon also laughed. "Huh, I don't think your eyes work very well. I have many hands. It's very easy to kill you." Then he raised his hand. These rich men came out to play, accompanied by bodyguards, of course, was indispensable. However, unlike on land when you drive a yacht out to sea with a group of women, you couldn't let the bodyguards follow you in a place with limited space, such as a yacht. Otherwise, when you do want to do some sports anytime, anywhere, there'll be audience nearby. Therefore, Sheldon and a group of young models were playing in the sea. They took a yacht alone, while their bodyguards took another 2 yachts to protect them not far away. At this time, they see their boss waved and immediately started the ship, blocked Harry left channel. How about that? You have so many hands. Do you dare to be tough now? There were more than 10 bodyguards standing on each other on 2 boats. Just looking at the salesmen, they were really tough. Generally, they don't have to do anything, just staring at scared, timid people. Now I'll give you one last chance to give me the fish. If you don't know what to do, I'll throw you into the sea. When you die, the fish will still be mine. Well, we don't know those 2 girls. It's a pity to throw them into sea. Let's have a good time first. Huh. Okay, well, the big one belongs to you and the small one belongs to me. What I like to play with most is the ones who haven't grown up yet. A few people were obscene and talked to themselves. Harry's anger was coming up. It's nothing for them to fight against themselves. Anyway, adults don't remember villains, just teach them a lesson. But now it's June and Juniper, and Harry couldn't bear it. Then he sneered, Well, it's really a big tone. You don't know who dares to move me. There's no good end. Prepare to repent. Laughing to death. Really repent? Who gives you confidence? Is this man a fool? I think they're really scared silly by us. I'm really looking forward to a dead end. A few men were not frightened by Harry and laughed with pride. In their eyes, Harry was an ordinary person who can bully at will. How can they care about Harry's threat? Both sides of the fire, Sheldon was impatient. With a wave of his hand, he said to his bodyguards, Go and grab the fish for me. The man will sink into the sea and the woman will be tied up and sent to my room. Yes, sir. On the other 2 yachts, a group of bodyguards in black answered. They were ready to pull the boat to Harry's side. The young models on Sheldon's yacht couldn't bear to look down on it. Just think about it. You'll know what will happen to Harry later. I told him to sell the fish, but he didn't listen. He's so stubborn. I think this man belongs to a donkey. Can you have a good result against Sheldon? I'm afraid it's over. I'm not only worried about my life, but also the 2 girls. A group of young models shook their heads and sighed. They all feel sorry for Harry. Originally, he should have just sold the fish and get a lot of money. Now it's no good. They're afraid he couldn't keep up his life and not earn any money. Harry and June were not afraid of each other when they faced so many people. But Juniper was different. She was a child. She had never experienced such big scenes. At this time, she was scared to cry when she saw so many evil-looking people leaning over. Brother, are these people bad or good? Why are they bullying us? I'm so afraid. Harry held Juniper in his arms and said with a smile, Juniper, don't be afraid. Your brother will do a magic trick for you now. Then he raised his hand and snapped his fingers, and something amazing happened. The ship that Sheldon's bodyguards were driving originally ran into Harry's ship. Unexpectedly, at the moment of Harry's finger ringing, the 2 ships suddenly shut down their engines and slowly stopped. Sheldon, a few rich men, was originally relying on his own large number of people, unscrupulously prepared to bully Harry. But now, they didn't know how the ship suddenly flamed out. But they were on the sea. They couldn't get on Harry's boat, so they had to jump into the sea to swim. It's no use of losing face because Harry's engine was still working well. Things became a bit strange, and Sheldon's bodyguards on the ship went into a panic. What's the matter? Why didn't the engine run? I don't know. I was just fine now. Try to restart it quickly. No, it won't move. There seems to be some damage. I don't know why it's not starting. Is it the propeller entangled in fishing nets or something? No way. The propeller was entangled. That's not the movement. What's going on? Not only the bodyguard's boat couldn't move, but also Sheldon's boat was in the same condition. The engine was still in good condition a moment ago, and all of a sudden it went out just between the fingers of Harry's. This situation makes everyone confused, and it's even more frightening. Is it magic? That man has special powers? What do you think? How can there be such an unscientific thing? Let's have a quick overhaul and see what's wrong. The 3 boats were a mess, but Harry's boat was quiet. Harry looked at these people calmly, like ants on a hot pot, turning around on the boat, and couldn't help laughing. What are you laughing at? What were you doing? Sheldon said fiercely. Originally, he thought it would be safe to win Harry, but now it's too complicated to do so. The key was that there was so many young models on the boat to watch. Sheldon had lost all his face. Harry said with a smile, Guess what? Uh, uh, Sheldon was so angry that he couldn't speak. Juniper was also stunned. Just now, these people were still aggressive. As a result, Harry's kung fu turned into dregs. It was magic. Very curious, she asked,
Brother, how is this going on?
Harry winked at her and said, because I could do magic. In fact, the truth of the matter was very simple. The boats that Sheldon and their bodyguards took were all rented yachts from Harry's company. Generally speaking, yacht rental ships were equipped with locators so that tourists will not run away from the ship or encounter dangerous sea conditions and rush to drive the ship. With the locator, it's easy to get the boat back. But there were not only locators, but also remote control systems on their ships as Harry's, and the permissions were encrypted. That was to say, once the tourists drive the yacht out of specified range, the control office on the shore will immediately receive the automatic alarm from the ship. Then start the remote control system and directly control the ship back. Just now, Harry seemed to be in an understatement. In fact, June contacted the ship management office on the shore by telephone and remotely controlled the 3 yachts to turn off their engines. In fact, it was such a simple thing, but in the eyes of people who don't know it, it seems very mysterious and weird. It took Sheldon a long time to make such a big fight. As a result, nothing was accomplished, and they were still trapped on the sea, so let alone their frustration. You must be the one who did it. What's your trick? Don't play tricks, Sheldon said angrily. Harry said contemptuously, what you said was that there are more of you and less of me. It's not me who is losing money in a positive way. Am I stupid or stupid to play a positive game with you? Although Sheldon has a large number of bodyguards, the total number of bodyguards was not enough for June. But now it's on the sea, especially Harry's boat. The space was limited, and it's going to let people rush up. June couldn't guarantee that she can protect Harry completely. Boy, I really looked down on you at the beginning. What's your status? You have a name in the newspaper. Sheldon now finally reflects that Harry is not an ordinary person. If ordinary people really had a conflict with a rich man like him, they would not be as calm as Harry. Under normal circumstances, most people do not dare to provoke rich men. Their identities are very different, so what to fight against? But Harry directly ignored this point, so Sheldon judged that he had miscalculated. Harry looked like an ordinary person, but in fact, he should be a pig and a tiger. At this time, he wanted to ask the identity of Harry, but Harry shook his head and said, Your grandfather, my name is Big. You do not deserve to know this kind of goods. The truff. I'm too crazy. I couldn't bear it. Listen to me. If the boats couldn't move, swim over the sea, I'll have to kill this guy today. Sheldon yelled at his bodyguards. A group of bodyguards immediately looked bitter. And Harry says, if they jumped into the sea and swam, they couldn't catch up with him. Huh. Was this like a dog jumping over the wall? Harry said with a smile. At the same time, Juniper was not afraid at all. In line with the idea that this was not too big to watch the excitement, she has the heart to correct Harry's statement.
Brother, you're not right. It's on the sea now. It should be said that the dog jumps into the sea or the dog jumps into the boat.
Well, that's true. You've been studying hard these days, Harry laughs. But Sheldon was all mad by Harry. He couldn't catch up with Harry. He has a fire in his heart and he couldn't vent. It's really hard. Don't run. Come and compete with me head on. That is, if you're not a man, if you have the ability, stay here and don't move. Facing this kind of low-level provocation, Harry scoffs. Looking up at the distance, he said, if you want to fight with me, you're far away, but don't worry, I won't leave. If you can climb onto my boat, I will lose. That's what you said. I'll go and deal with you now. Sheldon said that he would roll up his sleeves in person. Usually he didn't do it by himself, but there were so many bodyguards and thugs who can get him on the stage. But today was not the same. Was Harry whole heart straight angry at this time, thinking about the past to give Harry a little color to see? But before jumping off the boat and swimming towards Harry, more than a dozen helicopters came from the sky and circled over their heads. In the far sea, more than 20 yachts were breaking through the sea at a very high speed and coming towards this side. So what's wrong with that? What are these for? The sea fishing area was not far from the coast of Moon Island. On Harry's own site, thousands of people from Wolfguard were here to maintain order and security. If Harry was really allowed to be kicked out of his own territory, then Wolfguard can resign collectively. There was a conflict just now, after June informed the ship management office that had taken control of the 3 yachts they rented. The Wolfguard was also informed that Harry had been threatened. They immediately gathered and quickly arrived at Harry's location. At this time, the helicopter and yacht that came were all in the hands of Harry's wolf guard. Just when Sheldon and they were at a loss, they didn't understand what happened. Without Harry's command hovering over the low altitude helicopter one after another, he threw down the ropes. The elite wolf guards landed directly on Sheldon's yacht along with ropes. On the sea, the boats that wolf guard was riding blocked the three yachts to prevent people from jumping into the sea. Now the sea and the air were all blocked by the wolf guards. It could be said that even a fly couldn't escape. The wolf guard just jumped on the boat like a tiger descending from the mountain or a hawk driving from the air and let Sheldon and his group down cleanly. Sheldon's bodyguards, who looked fierce, had no enemies in front of the wolf guard. After a burst of crying, they all were controlled. Who are you? What's the matter with these people? Let me go. Sheldon was still struggling and shouting. Harry said impatiently, You've already said your grandfather's name. You're not qualified to ask. You're still shouting here. Stop this grandson's mouth. Yes, sir. The dragon's guard acted quickly, so he found a rag and put it in Sheldon's mouth. They don't know where this rag came from, but the smell made Sheldon roll his eyes. We're just here to play with you. It has nothing to do with us. A few screams from the young models. Harry still remembers the things that these women kindly reminded him just now, so he said, They have no threat. Don't worry about them. The wolf guards just gave up. Those young models quickly thanked them, and they could see it. In front of him was this handsome guy, looks like an ordinary person. In fact, it's called low-key. They're afraid his real identity is frightening. They don't know what to do but to wave casually, and they couldn't let Sheldon's ship start. They'd call so many strong guards in less than a moment. This situation was less than what of Sheldon's. They were not at the same level. Sir, what should we do with these people? George asked Harry. Well, Harry touched his chin and said with a smile, Since they've offended me, don't think about it. They'll keep their life for now. But Sheldon looks at Harry in horror and didn't know what will happen next. Death can be avoided, but life couldn't escape. Throw all these people into the sea and let them swim back, Harry said. Sheldon had his mouth covered and could not speak. His other two companies' mouths were not covered. When they heard that Harry was going to throw them into the sea, they immediately cried out in fright. No. There's more than 10 nautical miles from the nearest coast. We'll get too tired to swim. Brother, we're wrong. I apologize to you. My grandfather, I kowtow to you. Your adults have released us a lot. I dare not provoke you anymore. When these people heard that Harry was so cruel, they were so scared that they knelt down. Harry disdains away. This person always says no, too, so I see this day is very hot. You go to the sea bubble, you can get to the fire. How good. With a wave of his hand, George and them begin to fight. A series of falling water sounds like dumplings. Sheldon and his group were thrown into the sea, one after another. Please forgive me. I really don't have any ability to swim back. I'll be dead. Please forgive me. Even in the sea, Sheldon's two companions continued to beg for mercy. The main reason was the desire to survive was too strong. If Harry didn't change the mind, they wouldn't last long at sea. Harry shook his head and said, I'll know if I'm afraid. How could I be so unscrupulous just now? I'm still too young to be unscrupulous because of my family's power. Today I'll give you an unforgettable lesson. It's good to keep a lesson. We really know it's wrong. Please forgive us. Harry said with a smile, Well, you're very poor now. Let's throw down 5 life buoys. I'll be merciful. George heard Harry's orders and threw down the 5 life buoys without hesitation. The problem was that it's better not to give it to Harry. There were dozens of Sheldons. How can they just use 5 life buoys? But people who have the desire to survive, basically regardless of anything, as soon as the life buoys fell, these dozens of people tore and snatched it. Stop it all! Give me a life buoy! I'm your sir! Dare to fight me to death? Sheldon was a rich man. He was still a bit obscene to his subordinates. A word called out, those bodyguards were really afraid to snatch. The master-slave level was still a little inertial influence, but how can Harry make them feel better? Seeing Sheldon frightens those bodyguards, he said with a sneer, Oh yes, I forgot to say just now that there are sharks in the sea area. It's okay to stay on top of the ship, but if you're in the sea, you may be attacked by sharks at all times. As soon as the words came to an end, the bodyguards were not calm. At this time, they were still in charge of the sir. No sir, in their own life, was the most important. Rush in the past was a pool, began to frantically snatch the life buoy. It's impossible to use a life buoy in the sea to prevent being attacked by sharks, but it's not absolute. If they grab the life buoy, they could swim back to the coast safely. As long as they swim faster than the backward people, they won't be a target from the sharks. Therefore, the only 5 life buoys became the straw in the eyes of these people. They were fighting madly in the sea in order to grab one for themselves and escape back to the shore smoothly.